This zombie story is unlike anything you've ever read or watched before. Just pure, brutal zombie apocalypse. No favoritism. Anybody can die at any moment. So buckle your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Also, there isn't just one main character in this story, so be ready to experience different POVs. If you like this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. The story begins on one rainy night inside a story building. A man walked through a passage and arrived at a door front. The man exhaled, then announced that he, Kim Sungjin, a researcher from the Ministry of Defense, had arrived. He was being observed through a CCTV and was later searched by some men. He never expected a time would come where he'd have to be body searched by the nation's government. It seems that the current project they're working on is receiving a lot of attention from the public. Seeing that he's clean, they decided to let him inside. The door opened and he walked in. In front of him were three powerful figures. The first is the president's brain, Professor Han Suk-tae. The second is the president's right-hand man, Captain Ha Yang-yun. And the third is the person who created the three-person government, the Kingmaker, Minister Yoon Jong-yeol. The researcher never expected he'd get to meet such powerful figures. One of them then told him they should get started. The researcher, Sungjin, told them he'd start with the briefing. He then began. The origin of the issue was found on July 3rd by a Coast Guard in Sokcho. It was found in a prohibited area, but the Coast Guard who started to investigate the ship was attacked. The minister told him enough with the briefing. He heard he had a video to show, so they should start with that. He replied okay, then began showing them a video. It's something they've never seen before in the history of the world. As he played the video, the minister and the rest were in shock. They couldn't believe what they saw. In layman's terms, the researcher told them they've decided to call the creatures zombies. They took the name of the ship where it all started, 82-08, and decided to name the project Zombie Apocalypse 82-08. Let's go back 3 months ago, before the zombie terror all began. A group of guys were having a meal in a restaurant to congratulate their friend on joining the military. One of them ordered more ginger ale. At the same time, the news was on. Breaking news: in a city on the borderlands of Russia, a very large-scale explosion has occurred. The explosion was so big it seems some neighboring areas have caught on fire. At the other side of the table, a gang boss, Mingyu, one of the protagonists, was pouring a drink into his men's cups, and they humbly took it. One of the gang members asked the others what the hell they were doing by joining the military. If they had just taken the punishment while they were in school, they wouldn't have ended up like this. The guys accepted. We are embarrassed. Please give us a toast. At the same time, on the other side of the table, another protagonist, Sheriff, was pissed. He commented saying, "Why are they so proud to be gangsters? They're so fucking loud. Should we go and put them in their place?" Yubin told him no. Jinwoo joins the army today, so he should just ignore them. Samsik also agreed, saying Jinwoo might really get in trouble if they make a fuss today. Jinwoo was shocked as he realized he wouldn't be able to join the army anymore if they caused trouble. Sheriff calmed down since he couldn't let that happen. He's got to make sure Jinwoo gets into the army. Samsik then told Jinwoo he heard that in the army, sometimes you get fed shit while cleaning the toilets. So if something like that happens, he should just pretend to eat it, not actually eat it. Jinwoo was shocked by this false news. He was eating. He scolded Samsik, "Do you have to say something so gross while I'm eating?" Immediately, Samsik told them Pink Punch was on screen. Excitedly, they all looked back at an incredible speed. The girl was singing. Jinwoo cried, telling Tara, the idol on screen, that he would go serve the country and protect her. Sheriff asked Yubin if Jinwoo was blind. Whether it's in terms of body or face, their Jenny is way better. Yubin argued Tara is way prettier in terms of face. Sheriff disagreed and taunted, "I guess a pipsqueak like you wouldn't understand the sexiness that Jenny possesses." Pissed, Yubin called him an asshole. He choked Yubin's neck and asked Samsik who he thought was better out of the two. Samsik told them with a smile that he liked both of them, but then, they paused their arguments as they heard one of the gangsters bullying the attendant. She had mistakenly stained their boss's clothes, so one of them asked her what she was going to do about the boss's clothes. She apologized, saying she would compensate them with the laundry fees. But the guy told her that's not enough. She had to pay them for emotional damage. Surprised, she asked what she should do. The guy licked his lips, then grabbed her hand, and told her to come sit with them. But then Sheriff grabbed the guy's hand and told him that's enough, there are people around. But the guy slapped him before he could finish his words. He asked Sheriff if he thought he was in a movie or something. This is reality. Immediately, Sheriff punched the shit out of the thug's stomach, sending him to the ground, not knowing what the hell happened or how he got there. The boss was speechless. The other gangsters immediately stood up, worried. The guy who seemed to be the second in command stopped Sheriff as he was about to leave. "Do you know what you've just done?" Sheriff turned to leave. "What makes you think I care?" Other gangsters came and surrounded him. Samsik asked Yubin if they should go help him. Yubin wasn't sure either. Though Sheriff majors in Taekwondo, taking on gangsters himself might be hard. Before the situation could escalate further, the boss told his men to stop. "What are you doing to a mere child? It's humiliating." But he stood up, pulled off his jacket, and told Sheriff, an eye for an eye. Then asked him if he had any last words. Sheriff told him, yes, I do. Eat shit. Then, bang. He tried using his head to smash the boss, but to his surprise, the boss dodged it. He grabbed Sheriff's clothes and slammed him to the ground. But as he was about to punch him, he was surprised as Sheriff sent a punch at him from the ground. He was fast to dodge, though he never expected Sheriff to punch from lying on his back. The two immediately retreated. The boss picked up a bottle. Now, they both decided they'd end it with their next attack. They went for the final showdown, but paused midway as they heard police sirens. The underling told him the cops were here, so they should get out. Mingyu was speechless. He turned around and told Sheriff not to appear in front of him again. He'd kill him. Sheriff confidently told him the same. He'd kill him the next time they met. Yubin asked Sheriff if he was okay. Sheriff replied yes. Yubin told him he wasn't. He was having a nosebleed. As Mingyu and his men drove out, the driver asked him if he should look into the young boy from before. He was silent for a moment, then told him no. If they're meant to meet again, he's sure they will. Hours later, the four friends arrived at the military enlistment office. The three bid Jinwoo farewell, told him to stay healthy, and make sure to keep in shape. Samsik told him he shouldn't come searching for them, then suggested they should all go on a trip to the ocean during his break. And so they made that promise, but they never ended up having the chance to go to the ocean. Now, 3 months later, on the ocean bordering Seoksho, the Coast Guards came across a ship, and they announced to the ship, "This is a warning. We are the Marine Police of Korea. Your vessel is infringing into prohibited territory. Please have your captain come out to speak with us. This is your second warning." The Coast Guards, little did they know, their encounter with the ship marked the beginning of the world turning into hell. Seeing there was no response, one of the Coast Guards asked their boss what they should do. It seemed like it was an empty ship. Should they board it? The boss told him they should go by the book and research the ship first, and so, they threw ropes and climbed over the ship. At the same time, they made a call to their superior, saying they would be boarding the unknown ship. They had completed boarding it. They were now inside the ship, but no life form was detected. So, they moved on to searching the basement storage areas. The guy pulled off the helmet he was using since it was hot. He put it on the ground and went to check the tunnel in the ship, not knowing that was his biggest mistake. One of the Coast Guards asked the guy, Officer Kim, if there was something down there. The guy, checking the pit with a torch, replied no. He didn't think there was anything. But then, he was surprised as he saw something, and the next thing they all heard was a scream. Other Coast Guards rushed over to see what was going on. They pulled him back with all their strength, but were shocked to see something biting hard on Officer Kim's face. They had no idea what the hell it was. They tried pushing it away, but it wouldn't come off. One of the officers then used his gun and smashed the zombie's head away. Officer Kim held his face in pain as part of his cheek was bitten off. He screamed in pain. One of the officers then reported an emergency through the burner phone. "This is the search team. We're currently facing an unknown threat. We will start firing." The officer, surprised, took a proper look at the zombie. The zombie also looked back at him. Then to his surprise, it charged at him at full speed, viciously and ready to dine. The officer used his hand to block the zombie's bite. Then, from behind, a gun was fired at it, straight to the head, and it fell down. The officer who shot asked the guy being attacked if he was okay. The guy replied yes. Those from the main boat asked the search team through the burner if things were okay over there. They had just heard a gunshot. The guy replied yes, the gunshot was theirs. The Coast Guard had no idea what the hell they had just shot down. They didn't even know how to explain it to their superior. One of them, who seemed to be their leader, then asked Officer Kim if he was all right. The guy who was helping him to stand replied that he had a deep wound on his face. The leader told him they should get ready to head back. He should call the main ship and tell them they have an injured person. Then he told Officer Kim to just hold on a bit. But to his surprise, Officer Kim turned into a zombie and bit his hand, then went and bit the next. All was recorded through the body cam. That was where the video from the body cam ended. The minister asked the researcher if he had found out the identity of the ship. The researcher told him it was an unregistered ship, so they didn't know where it came from. But considering the state of the vessel, they didn't think it came from too far off or from too long ago. More importantly, the minister added, "It's alarming that the thing in the video could move despite half its body being cut up." "Is that really human?" The researcher replied yes. The coroners checked it themselves, and their results showed that the internal organs of the being were the same as that of a human. But something different was their hemoglobin capacity. Regular humans have a reading of 12 to 17, but the results from that being all showed a reading of 0.3. The minister told him to keep the complicated stuff out. He should say it in simple terms. To put it simply, the researcher commented, the being had blood that couldn't carry oxygen. It means that their body will soon evolve to function without relying on their hearts and lungs. Professor Han Suktai commented, that info might be useful. We should just target their lungs and heart before they reach that stage. It might be effective. The minister agreed. Indeed, we stumbled upon some very precious information. He then said, from the video footage he was sure there was something they should be careful of too. He asked the researcher if his research had progressed in studying how they might harm humanity. The researcher replied yes, their research was progressing, but there was still a lot to look into, such as the virus itself. The professor asked what way the virus was being transmitted. The researcher told him their conclusion was still an initial one, but it seemed like the virus could be transmitted through an opening on the victim's body, such as an open wound. The zombie virus was able to enter the bloodstream in that way. The professor thought about it, then asked if he was saying the wound had to go deeper than the skin in order for transmission to occur. Was it similar to how AIDS works? What about the opposite? He questioned. What happens if a human bites or eats a zombie? Surprised, the researcher told him they hadn't really researched that yet. The professor slammed the table. How can you forget about that aspect? Even if the people under you forget, you should have kept that in mind. The minister told him to calm down. They had obtained a sample, so it could be researched quickly. He then asked the researcher if he could report the results of their question within this week. The professor, sweating anxiously, said to himself that the absurd question was driving him crazy. Who the fuck could get results within a week? But he couldn't reject the order. So he replied yes, he'd try. The minister then asked him to show them the real thing. The researcher checked his watch and told the three to please turn to the back wall. To their surprise, a door opened, and before them were the zombies, confined in a room, separated by thick, transparent glass. The zombies immediately rushed to the glass as soon as they saw humans, slamming their heads to force themselves out, not caring about pain. The researcher told them the glass was 15 centimeters wide acrylic, and the oxygen level inside the chamber was less than 10%, less than half of what humans usually breathe. They can move basically without oxygen, and they don't feel pain. The minister told him that was fine, but they didn't seem intelligent. They used to be military officers, so they should be smarter than the average person. He then asked if the zombies could shoot guns. The researcher replied no. The minister added, even though they can't shoot guns, we know they're not easy opponents to handle. So he asked the researcher if he had run any simulations. Yes, the researcher replied. In a city that is not infected yet, we simulated introducing the virus and observed what would happen over the course of 24 hours. If the city had a population of 100,000 or less, after 24 hours, 2% of the population would be infected. After 2 days, it rises to 17%, and after 3 days, 34% would be infected. The professor commented, seeing how the curve changes around 3 days, I guess that's when people start to realize how to counter or deal with the zombies. So sharing instructions and information is crucial. He then asked, what about a megacity with a population of over 10 million? The researcher replied, we conducted the same simulation at the 24-hour, 2-day, and 3-day marks. At 24 hours, it's 47%. At 2 days, it's 64%. And on the 3rd day, it's 70%. Compared to a small city, there are 2 big reasons why the infection spreads so fast. First, the density of people per square area is around a 50% difference compared to small cities. Second, people living in big cities travel around 20 kilometers in 1 day on average. The minister asked Captain Hae Young-yoon what he thought. Was there something they could do with the given information? The captain told the minister that losing 50% of their population before even entering a full-on counterplan against the zombies was a huge problem. Their resources would be spread thin trying to stop the infection from spreading, while also fighting those already infected. The minister agreed. Though they're dangerous, I wonder if we could use them somehow, as weapons. He then told the researcher to tell him about their weakness again. The researcher replied, they don't react to stimuli and don't feel pain from injuries, but if their head or brain is damaged, they cease to move. Furthermore, they freeze and are unable to move in temperatures below -55 degrees Celsius. Surprised, the minister asked, if they truly stop moving below -55 degrees Celsius, does that mean it's possible for us to face them? The professor was surprised by the question, then anxiously replied, yes, maybe. The minister then gave him 2 years. He'd give him exactly 2 years, along with everything he needed. He should create a vaccine that would stop the transition into a zombie. A few hours later, a van containing the zombies was being escorted by a convoy while it was raining. In one of the cars was the researcher. He was worried. He didn't know if what he was doing was the right thing. Before he left, the minister told him that with the vaccine he created, they would release the zombies into the world. Then they'd introduce the vaccine, and they'd gain huge profit and power because they would be the only ones with something to counter the zombies. While he was thinking, suddenly spikes were placed on the road, and the car at the front had its tire burst, forcing the van and the others to stop. They were then surrounded by an unknown group. The group got out of their cars. With a cigarette in his mouth, Kang Minggu of Manbei Group Number 3 told his men, "Let's finish the job quickly." Now, going back 3 months before the disaster. In the military, Jinwoo was in his dorm, writing a letter to his friends. In the letter, he greeted his friends and also told them he was doing fine. He thought the four of them would always be together, but 3 months had already passed since they last saw each other. What are they up to? How is Sheriff, who's easily angered, and Samsik, who has interesting tastes? He's sure Yubin is also having a hard time, but he's still curious how they're doing. He also got promoted to top marksman. Yesterday, even in front of the battalion commander, he was able to land all 20 shots on a target that was 250 meters away. But even though he got promoted, he's sure they wouldn't know how amazing it is. Well, he can give them the details next time they meet up. Now, the night before the disaster, as the van was stopped, the researcher asked one of the guards what the issue was. About to come down, the guard told him he thinks there's something wrong with their tires, so he'll go check it out. He took a torch and went under the rain, and he saw it was a wire trap. He had no idea what it was doing there. But then, as soon as he realized their car was being targeted, bang! A bat was slammed on his head by one of Minggu's men, and he fell to the ground unconscious. Minggu, standing in front of his men with a cigarette in his mouth, told them to take the items and get rid of everything else. The men, with weapons in their hands, viciously charged out to complete their tasks. The battle began. The gangsters attacked quickly to stop them from bringing out their guns. They could kill them if necessary, as long as they fulfilled the mission. The researcher, surprised, told the guy in the car that they don't seem like regular gangsters. The leader of the guards came out and told one of the guards to request backup right now, and the rest should get ready to shoot. But before the guy could call for backup, he was knocked down. Minggu immediately came through the car and punched the leader in the face, blood splashing. Seeing that their leader was knocked down, they began to shoot. Minggu immediately dodged, grabbed the leader's body and blocked the bullets with it. They were shocked at how crazy he was. At the same time, in one of the cars Minggu came with, a man laughed. "That bastard Minggu, he never has any fear. Look at him running past bullets. He's basically flying, he's soaring." The guy in the front was speechless. The guy behind him was his superior. He asked him how important the task was for him to come by himself. The superior grinned, lit his cigarette, and asked the guy if he knew Chairman Huang from the Sun Group. "Yesterday, his secretary came to me, and he requested we capture the truck, no matter what it takes." The guy was surprised to hear the name Chairman Huang, since he's the chairman of Korea's #1 business corporation, Sun Group, and also the man who helped the Manbei organization become the strongest gangster group in Korea. If it wasn't for the support from the Sun Group, their Manbei gang might not even exist right now. He couldn't believe it was an order from Chairman Huang. He then asked the superior what could possibly be in that truck. The superior grinned. "Well, it doesn't really matter to us. We'll get paid well as long as we just do what he says. Nothing good comes from knowing too much." "Yes, sir," the guy replied, then said to himself, "How interesting. It's an item that the king of the financial world is ordering the king of the nightlife to capture." Now, outside, the men told Minggu they'd finished clearing the place and secured the truck. Minggu told them, "Good job, get what's inside the truck." But after trying for a while, one of the gangsters told Minggu they didn't think it was a regular truck. If they knew there would be locks, one of them should have started working on it before. Another asked if they should take the entire truck. Minggu told them they can't. If the truck has a tracking device attached to it, their location would be revealed. One of them brought along a guy, told Minggu he found him hiding out near the truck. It was the researcher. Scared, he told them he didn't know anything, and begged them to spare him. Surrounded, Minggu commented, "He's so whiny." Another added, "Is he a worker? Look at this bastard." After searching the researcher, they saw an ID card and realized he was a researcher from the military officer's defense. Minggu then got closer to him, pointed toward the truck lock and asked, "What's the password to the lock?" The researcher told him he didn't know, only the workers would know the top secret password. Minggu asked, "Is it really a top secret?" The researcher replied, "Yes, then slash." Minggu slashed the researcher's face with little to no emotion. The researcher cried in pain. I'll ask you again, Mingu commented. Do you really not know the password? The guy panicked and replied, Yes, they can't open the door, there's something inside. Then Mingu cut his other cheek. The researcher cried and blood flowed from his face. He begged Mingu, please don't go after what's inside the truck, it's too dangerous, it's not something you can control. Mingu told him, if you have time to worry about us, maybe you should prioritize worrying about your own life. You've probably already caught on, but you won't be receiving a pretty death. Seeing the seriousness in Mingu's eyes, the researcher immediately called out the password, and Mingu's men went to try the code. It opened. Then came the guy from the car. He asked Mingu, why are you taking so long? Waiting around for the cops to show up? One of Mingu's men almost retaliated angrily, but Mingu stopped him. The guy walked past Mingu and told him, hurry it up. Ha, you guys can't do shit without me. One of Mingu's men angrily said to himself, this guy is so annoying. Such a bitch like him is number 2 in command? He always stays back when it gets dangerous and reappears when it's convenient. The guy opened the truck. He recalled the superior from the car telling him that the higher-ups said they should use any force necessary to secure the items inside the truck. The guy wondered what could possibly be inside that even the higher-ups want it so badly. It's probably something really valuable if even Chairman Huang wants it. Well, whatever. He grinned slightly. It should help me in the long run if I know what it is. As he opened the first door, then opened the inner layer, cold mist came out. He wondered if it was a fridge or a freezer. What the hell is inside? He questioned. Then he used his flashlight to check it out, but he was shocked to see a frozen body, a corpse. He looked around, maybe the other boxes were the same. He opened one. Just as he thought. He wondered, what exactly are the fuckers up to? Why would they preserve corpses like this? And why does Chairman Huang want it? He paused, realizing there's no way Chairman Huang would want any normal corpse. He looked closely. He could see that the corpse's face was completely mangled. Was he ripped apart by an animal? He questioned. Even his mother wouldn't be able to identify him. One of the gangsters then knocked and told the guy they had to speed things up. The guy shouted, wait a bit, shithead. Don't you know we'll be in deep shit if we take the wrong thing? He turned around to open another lock, then immediately turned back as he noticed someone behind him. Thinking it was one of his men who came in, he almost scolded them. But he saw the corpse, but realized it wasn't a corpse since it could move. As the zombie walked toward him, the man said to himself that it really wasn't just a regular corpse. Was this some kind of cryogenic experiment? To his surprise, the zombie charged toward him, but he was fast enough to dodge. Not caring what the hell it was, he smashed it flat, determined to beat the shit out of the zombie. He smashed relentlessly until blood started dripping from the zombie's face, though he had no idea it was a zombie. Breathing heavily, he said to the zombie, I'm Choi Sungo, second in command in Manbei Group. But to his surprise, another zombie came and bit his leg. Its teeth held on tightly. The guy didn't take it as anything, so he tried pushing the zombie away to get it off him, but it was pointless. The grip was too tight. Then the other zombie came, teeth wide open to take a bite out of the meal. That was when he knew he was fucked. Outside the truck, Mingu brought out his cigarette pack. One of his men told him it was taking too long. Should we check the truck out? Mingu told him no, there's no benefit to them if they intervene, just leave him be. The guy brought out a spark to help Mingu light his cigarette. Then he looked back as he heard a sound from the truck. The man's men immediately knocked on the door. Boss, what's wrong? Open the door. They forcefully opened the door and were surprised to see their boss on the ground being gnawed at by zombies, though they had no idea it was a zombie. They charged in, angry at the fucker for daring to mess with their boss. The guy in front kicked the zombie on the head, brought out his knife, and began stabbing it. He told the others to stop standing around and help him, quick, but those guys stood in shock, watching. He asked them, what are you looking at? Then Munch, the zombie, took a subtle bite from his neck. The guy screamed in pain. He was surprised, since he was pretty sure he stabbed the zombie. Now weak, his skin went pale, bleeding from his mouth. The others watched in shock as he took his last breath. The zombies then charged toward them. Mingu from behind could hear the screams. He hadn't fully understood what was going on yet. He said to himself that Choi Sung-ho might be an asshole, but he isn't someone who would lose that easily. What kind of person could it be? Whoever it is, if they bothered a member of their organization, they should be killed. He then ran toward the scene at full speed. There, the guys were already getting chowed by the zombies. The men standing behind questioned if those bastards were cannibals or something. What should we do? Mingu arrived and pushed the guy aside. Move. He walked forward, looked at the zombie, knelt, and sliced its neck. But he was surprised to see that the bastard was still biting, even though he sliced its neck. It really hurt his pride. He then chopped its head off with a single cut, the head rolling on the ground. But then, his men shouted for him to watch his back. He immediately reacted and dodged the zombie's attack before he could become part of the zombie menu. He swiftly stabbed one to the ground but was surprised to see they were still moving, even though he had stabbed them multiple times. Furious, he sent out a punch. "What the hell are you guys? Why aren't you dying?" Then bang! He slammed the zombie's head to the ground. "Whatever you are, the sounds you're making are pissing me off." Then again, the zombie he stabbed stood up. He laughed angrily. "You're a fun one, aren't you? So getting cut and stabbed doesn't work on you." But then he paused. He recalled that he killed the first one by cutting off its head, so he decided to put that into practice. Swiftly, he bodied the zombie that wanted to bite him with his knife, piercing its throat. But then, it bit at his face at incredible speed and force, though he was fast enough to dodge it. If he had let go of the knife even a few seconds later, he would have died. He swiftly placed his hand on the ground and kicked the zombie off its feet. It fell, its head slamming on the ground, but it came back up again. He knocked it back down with his leg. He stomped its head continuously, but it still didn't die, until after some minutes of stomping did it finally die. He exhaled, then bent down, finally realizing that to kill the zombies, he just needed to crack their heads open. But then, another zombie came to attack him, though he never expected it. But he swiftly dodged, kicked the zombie on its leg, and it fell down. He picked up a rod, saying to the zombies, "You guys are quite loyal, huh? Your friends are dead, but you don't even seem scared. Well, I respect you for that, but you should learn to make better decisions." Then bang, he broke the zombie's leg with the rod, and it fell to the ground, still struggling to get up. He struck its neck with an insanely precise force. The zombie fell to the ground, and he stepped on its head, looking down at it. But to his surprise, the zombie was still trying to move despite him breaking its neck. He then went again for another strike to end it, though he respected the zombie's persistence. But then he stopped midway as a car shone a bright light at him. The superior told him to stop. He should stop right there. Though he gets that he's full of energy, he can't just destroy everything. They have to preserve at least one, so that they can receive their reward. Mingu was speechless for a moment. He looked around, his men struggling after defeating the zombies. One of them asked if those fuckers were really human. He thought he was watching a horror movie. Another guy told him to stop making a fuss, he only got a bite on the arm. Mingu clenched the rod tightly. The superior angrily asked him if he wasn't going to reply. Mingu, with a saddened expression, told him to do whatever he wanted. He was going to take care of his underlings. The superior angrily said to Mingu, "You asshole, what kind of tone is that?" Mingu just left without saying anything. The man grinned. Mingu's stubbornness is what makes him strong. He then told one of his men to go get the corpse over there. They should go meet Chairman Huang. They carried the corpse, but it came back to life and started screeching. The guys were surprised. "Is it really human?" They questioned. Another commented, "If it wasn't for the boss's orders, I would have thrown him into the river already," then told the zombie to consider himself lucky and close the boot. The superior asked his underling in the car what happened to Mr. Choi. The underling told him he was conscious but had lost a lot of blood. The superior sighed, saying Choi was a dumbass trying to act on his own. He told him to take Choi to the hospital. Another guy came and told the superior that they'd loaded their cargo. The superior told him, "All right, we should head out," and told him to instruct the others to clean up the area. As they drove out, one of Mingu's men told him the boss is such an asshole. Mingu asked him why he thought so. He replied, "So many members of our family are injured and dying, but all he thinks about is getting his reward." Mingu told him to stop spurting useless bullshit and start cleaning up the area. He should load the corpses of their members into the car and load everything else into the truck and light it on fire. The guy, with a saddened expression, replied, "Yes, sir." Mingu placed his hand on his shoulder and told him they should go for a drink with everyone when they're done, in honor of their family members who passed away. The guy was touched by his words, but then they heard someone say that the bastard over there was alive. To their surprise, it was Daisik, one of their men. Mingu noticed the guy's movement was wrong. He hoped it wasn't what he was thinking. The guy then happily hugged Daisik, saying, "You bastard, I thought you died." He then dragged him, saying they should go to the hospital. Mingu immediately shouted for the guy to get away from him, but it was already too late. Daisik had already turned into a zombie and bit him on the neck, adding him to the zombie menu. The guy screamed in pain, his body gradually turning pale. Others, surprised, wondered what was going on. Why did Daesuk bite Chilsung? Mingu then swiftly used his knee and kicked the zombified Daesuk away. He noticed that Daesuk had turned into one of the zombies. He wondered why that happened. Was it some kind of contagious disease? Now, things became worse. They were completely surrounded. The guys who had died had come back to life. They were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes, nor did they have any idea what the hell was going on. Mingu, shocked, wondered what was going on here. The zombies then rushed at them. Mingu, still shocked, was asked by his men, panicking, what they should do. Mingu immediately shouted, told everyone to get in the car. They had to get out of there. They tried making a path, but there were too many zombies. One of them immediately drove a car and told Mingu to get inside. As Mingu got into the car, he could see one of his men being dined on by the zombies, begging Mingu to please take him along. Mingu, seeing there was no hope for the guy, told the driver to drive. The car drove out, but in front of them were more zombies. Mingu told the driver to just run them over. The driver did as instructed and ran through the zombies, but one persistent bastard held onto the glass. He raised his head back and forcefully slammed it into the glass, breaking it, determined to have a taste of the driver's meat. The driver struggled. He increased the car's acceleration and drove in reverse. Tension in the air, the zombie still hung on. Its hand broke through the glass and grabbed the driver's face. Mingu panicked and shouted for the driver to watch the building in front of him. He should turn the handle immediately. But it was already too late. He immediately buckled his seatbelt. Then the car crashed into the wall. The car caught fire. Mingu woke up after being unconscious for a moment, bleeding from his face. The driver was already knocked out, face on the airbag. The zombie seemed to be down. Mingu was unable to move his hand. It seemed to have broken. He ended up coming out of the car, barely standing. But then, his expression darkened as he noticed 3 incoming zombies. He laughed. "All right, I'll take you guys on again." He paused. He couldn't find his knife. He wondered where he had put it. Then he remembered. He had left it in the zombie's neck from earlier. He sighed. Looks like it's going to be a long night. At the same time, in Ganggu purification plant, the emergency siren began ringing. It was 3:30 a.m. A girl woke up, wondering what was going on. Why is there an alarm at this time of night? Is there an issue with the purification system or something? She stretched. That would be a pain in the ass if that's the case. The girl is Lim Sujung, a Ganggu purification plant researcher. She walked down the stairs. She told the guard that she came down because she heard the alarm. Does it have to do with the purification system? The guard told her that's not it. It's an issue near the guard wall. He pointed over the wall and asked if she saw the smoke over there. Looks like someone ran their car into the wall. Surprised, she asked if it was a big accident. The guard told her they're looking into it, so they should find out soon. Is that so? She questioned. But then she noticed something. She told him it looked like the person was trying to climb over the wall. The guards at the wall told the person they couldn't enter. They would call the police. The guard at the back sighed and told the girl that he thinks the person is just another drunk driver. If they're going to get drunk, they should be responsible. It's people like him who turn into filthy dogs when they drink. The person finally came over the fence and fell down. That person was Mingu. The girl, seeing it was nothing serious, turned around to leave. She told the guard she was glad there wasn't an issue with the purification system. The guard told her not to worry. She should feel free to sleep. She bowed and wished him good night. But then, to their surprise, the guards were immediately knocked out. Mingu picked up their weapon. The man, shocked as he realized the person wasn't drunk, he was able to knock down the guards. The man immediately brought out his gun, told Mingu to stop there and not come any closer or he'd shoot. He warned, but Mingu kept coming closer. The man told him not to hold a grudge against him since he was the one who didn't listen. But before he could pull the trigger, Mingu slammed his face with the weapon in his hand. Blood splashing, possible concussion, with a cracked skull. The girl was shocked as she saw this. The expression on Mingu's face was that of a killer, so she immediately turned around to run. She ran toward the door, a short distance away from her. "Quickly," she said, "quickly." She got to the door, pushed it open, but as she was about to close it, it was forcefully stopped. He felt a sharp pain in his shoulder as he dragged strength with her since his shoulder was broken. He told her to please stop. She was going to do something he'd regret. He stopped pushing the door. He sat down and told her to listen. They'd both end up dying at this rate. No, actually dying would be better. If those bastards reach them, it would be worse than death. If you open the door right now, I won't hurt you, and I'll even protect you from those incoming bastards. The girl had no idea what the hell Mingu was talking about. She wondered if he was insane. "I'm not sure," she replied. "You're intruding on our property, and you knocked out 3 guards, so how can I trust you?" He told her it didn't really matter if she trusted him or not, because she'd have no choice but to open the door anyway. The zombies finally came through the fence, furious and thirsty for some tender flesh. She finally opened the door as she saw the horror in front of her. The door handle was tied down. The zombies persistently slammed the door since they couldn't get in. Minutes later, inside a room, the girl asked Mingu what the hell those monsters were. While treating his hand, he told her, "Who knows? Definitely a sight for sore eyes, though." She told him it's not funny. This isn't the time to be joking around. He told her he really didn't know. He met those things for the first time today, then told her to stop standing around and help him out. She helped him tie the cloth around his neck, then told him there must still be at least one thing he knew. He told her yes, he knew one thing: those bastards never give up. Even if he hid himself away inside, he knew those things wouldn't go away, no matter how much time passed. He finally treated his hand, stood up, and went to where the knife was. He took it. The girl looked at him, sweating slightly, then looked away. He asked her where she was going. She told him to the watchguard house. She thought they should call the police, but she didn't have any phone on her. Mingu told her he didn't think that was a good idea. She turned around, angry. "Why do you think we shouldn't call the police? Is it because you're a criminal?" He leaned closer to her and told her, "When normal humans are bitten by those monsters, they turn into one of them. So if you call the police and they arrive here just to get bitten, their numbers will increase. Would you be able to handle that?" Then she told him they'd just explain all that to the police before they get to the place. Mingu grinned. "If we tell the police that the monsters crawled out of a freezer and that you'll turn into a monster yourself if you get bitten, do you really think the police will believe us?" Pissed, she asked, "Then what the hell do you want us to do? All you do is spout some depressing shit." Suddenly they heard a big loud noise. Panic-driven, she asked, "What the hell was that? Have they broken the front door down?" Mingu told her no. It's a reinforced glass door. They would have heard the sound of the metal hinges breaking before the glass shattered. He then asked her if there were any places on the first floor where it wasn't reinforced glass. She told him yes. She thought the windows in the back were just normal glass. Mingu took his weapon. "Then it's probably there," he said. He handed her something. "Take it. It's probably better than a knife for someone like you. Don't worry, I'm not ordering you to fight. I'm giving it just in case. If you encounter a monster, you'll have to at least buy some time for yourself to run away. She should watch closely. Step forward with her left leg, bend her knee, then swing." She angrily told him not to think she's the same kind of person as him. There's no way she can do that. He told her that's up to her, then gave her the weapon. "Just stay here then, if you don't want to come along." Surprised, she told him to wait. She wanted to come along. Speechless for a moment, Mingu turned around and told her to do whatever she liked, but she shouldn't stay too close to him. She smirked and told him she wouldn't, even if he asked her to. The girl saw the windows. Shivers ran down her spine. She suggested they take the elevator, since it looked like he was having a hard time walking. He told her no. It would be dangerous if the elevator door opened and the monsters were in front of them. Now, to their surprise, they heard a sound in front of them. Mingu told her from now on, she shouldn't make a sound unless absolutely necessary. As they walked up the stairs gently, Mingu said to himself that it was too quiet. The sensor was flickering, so there must be something there. He told her to stop walking. He used the knife's reflection to see the zombie's position. But then, to his surprise, a zombie broke through a window and almost tasted his flesh. He pulled back swiftly, quickly regained his balance before he could fall. He struck the zombie's face with his knife, and it fell to the ground. But he didn't stop there. He stabbed its neck and forcefully pulled out his knife, blood pumping out like water. The girl, shocked, asked if the zombie was dead. He brought out his packet of cigarettes and told her she needed to return to the kitchen. She'd get in his way if she stayed here. He walked forward with a cigarette in his mouth, his knife held tight in his hand, ready for battle. A zombie then burst through the window, not one but several, ready to have a bite of his seasoned flesh. He looked at them. "Let me enjoy my cigarette, you fuckers." The girl was shocked. Mingu was like shit. He couldn't fight on the stairs with his current body condition, so he had to move to an open area. He immediately stepped back to dodge the zombie's bite attack, the biting force intense. He then cut the zombie with his knife, but the cut was too shallow. The persistent zombie came charging forward again, together with the second one. Mingu immediately bent down and cut its leg. Before it could fall, he grabbed the zombie and slammed it into the wall, knife in his mouth as the second zombie came charging towards him. He then kicked it down the stairs, and the one pinned down struggled to free itself. He pinned it with his hand, down to its throat, then dropped the knife from his mouth into his hand, and swiftly chopped its head off with a single strike. But then, he noticed the second zombie was running towards the girl. The girl stood shocked. He immediately shouted at her to hit the legs. As the zombie approached, she recalled Mingu teaching her how to swing with the weapon in order to take down zombies. Though scared, she did as instructed and struck the zombie's leg. It lost balance for a moment and fell on her. She braced for impact. As she fell, the zombie then came charging at her again. But Mingu swiftly came and took the zombie down with his knife strike to its skull. He looked at the girl, who was already unconscious, though he kept his promise to protect her. Hearing the screeching from the other door, he realized it wasn't over yet. Minutes later, he carried her back to the kitchen and dropped her on the ground. He also sat and sighed, but then he heard the zombies banging the door. He exhaled. They wouldn't even give me time to breathe. Well, he guessed if it's not intense, it won't be fun. He stood up, turned on the AC, and said to himself that if they made this place like a freezer, even the monsters should struggle. He carried a cloth to cover her. Though she might not be able to hear him right now, he told her it's about to get cold in the room, but covering her is all he can do. She should just try to survive until morning, then people who work in the company will start to show up. The zombies finally broke through the door. He was surprised to see that one of the zombies was his man, Chil-sung. There were 3 zombies in total. He held the knife with his mouth, ready to put his underling out of his misery. He then pushed the cart toward 2 zombies, slamming them into the wall, and before the zombified Chil-sung could attack him, he swiftly slit his throat, and it fell to the ground, dead. Now, only 2 were left. He chopped off the first one's hand, did a swift knife switch, and slit its throat. Then, from behind, the 3rd zombie wanted to taste his flesh, but he pierced its neck with his knife. The 2 fell to the ground, dead. He lit his cigarette, took a puff, and placed the remaining on Chil-sung's mouth, bidding him farewell. As he walked out, he recalled the researcher warning him not to go after what's inside the truck because it's too dangerous, and not something they could handle. He never expected something so dangerous and outrageous to be in there. Even Choi Sung-go would have transformed into a zombie. Who knows if the car survived? He brought out his phone, but it was broken. He deemed it frustrating not knowing what was going on. Then in front of him, he saw people approaching. He could see it was the police, so he threw his knife down in order to get more information from them. He waved his hand at them, but his hopes shattered as he realized they were zombies. He sighed. Seriously, how many of them are there? Now moving to another scene. The next day, in a construction site, things were still peaceful over there. While working, Sheriff asked Yubin what he thought about them having stew and rice for lunch. Yubin told him no, they had that yesterday. Isn't he sick of it? Sheriff told him no, stew and rice is love. Then from behind them, Samsik called. He told them with a smile that Jinwoo sent a letter. The 2, excited, immediately dropped their loads to go see the letter details. They read it. Jinwoo told them he likes Jenny better than Tara. Also, he had become a top marksman. Samsik asked what he meant by top marksman. Yubin told him it means he's a great shooter. Samsik carried the heavy load, saying such is expected from Jinwoo. He always had good aim when they played video games together. Sheriff laughed, told him there's no way a video game would help him in real life. He's sure he just got lucky during training. Sheriff then saw that the newbie was slacking off again. He approached the newbie and asked what he was looking at to be that lost. He then took the phone from him, which startled the newbie. With a grin, he asked him if he was watching something naughty. The guy, flustered, told Sheriff no, and asked him to give back his phone. Samsik told Sheriff to show him the video if it was something naughty. Yubin told them they shouldn't watch stuff like that at the workplace. Well, as men of culture, they all ended up watching it. But it was not what they were expecting. From the video, they could see the city had almost been destroyed by zombies. People were screaming, girls were being turned into female zombie baddies, and the mindless creatures were roaming and terrorizing the streets. Probably zombies from a block. They finished watching the video. Samsik questioned, why are people eating other humans? Sheriff asked if it was a clip from a movie or something. It was filmed so well. The newbie told him it was a zombie video taken at Noksapyeong Station. It went viral this morning. Hadn't they seen it? The 3 had no idea what he was talking about. They hadn't seen it. The newbie sighed and told them, you're all a bunch of boomers. Of course you haven't seen it. Furious, Sheriff told him to repeat what he just said. He dared call them boomers. Yubin told him to calm down and reminded him Mr. Huang told them not to fight. The newbie ignored them, closed his ears, and Sheriff shouted from behind. The guy was more worried because his phone had suddenly gone out of service. Sheriff was still grumbling, but Yubin told him it was okay, he should just let it go. Samsik then asked, why aren't the people who went for lunch back yet? Yubin agreed, they should have been back by now. Sheriff asked, did they get drunk again, at this time of the day? Yubin decided to call them, but when he placed his hand in his pocket, he couldn't find his phone. Sheriff also tried calling them but couldn't find his phone either. Samsik then told them they left their phones in the truck, and that's the truck they rode off to lunch with. They took it away because they always slack off when they have their phones. With a smile, he told them they should just work hard now and go clubbing later. Sheriff said it was a good idea. They should get back to work. Yubin told them to shut up for a second and wait for everyone else to come back. But then, they were surprised to see a helicopter fly past them. Sheriff asked, "What's going on for there to be so many helicopters? Are they training or practicing for something?" "Whatever," Samsic commented. "I'm dying of hunger right now." He then asked if they'd bring something back for them to eat. Sheriff remarked sarcastically, if they were that considerate, they wouldn't still be bachelors at their age. Yubin was kinda worried, so he asked, "What if they got into an accident?" Sheriff said, "No way." Little did they know they'd all turned into zombies and were spreading their seed across the street. Minutes later, Samsic was looking into the distance through a lens. "I'm hungry. I'm starving to death," he said. Sheriff asked Yubin, where did Samsic get that lens from? "What a weirdo." Yubin told him, probably 2 days ago. He said he won it from a claw machine. Sheriff sat down. "Wow, is Samsic good at stuff like that?" Yubin laughed. "Good, my ass. He probably wasted like $10 just to win it." Sheriff was disappointed. "He wasted $10? It looks like it's worth less than 3. Can he even see through it?" Through the lens, Samsic said he could see a wrench lying on the ground. Yubin told him the thing was a worthless piece of crap. Then again, Samsic said he could see up to the wall but nothing beyond it. Sheriff told him it was obvious. That lens can't see through walls. Samsic laughed weirdly, saying the lens was still quite useful, but the two told him it was very useless and that he should just throw it away. Minutes later, the newbie opened the water fridge. "It's hot as fuck," he said. Sheriff asked if his phone was still working. The newbie sat down and told him no. He then asked, "Why the hell are they building a nursing home for seniors in a place like this?" Yubin told him he thought it was because their previous plan to build a new town didn't work. Sheriff stood up and told them to stop the chit-chat and go eat lunch or they'd die of starvation before the others came back. Samsic agreed and excitedly told them they should go get some cold noodles. The newbie asked, "How? We don't have a car." Yubin suggested they should just walk. The newbie was surprised. "You're really going to walk a 50-minute journey in this hot weather?" Yubin told him it would only be that long if they took the main road. They could get there in 10 minutes if they used shortcuts. Not wanting to stress, the newbie told them he'd just stay at the site and asked them to bring something back for him. Sheriff scolded him, then paused when he saw Samsic putting on gloves. He asked, "Why are you putting on gloves?" Samsic told him it was easier to jump over the railing with them, and it looked cool on him. And so, they went out through the shortcut. Samsic easily jumped over the fence. Sheriff fell after jumping, while Yubin struggled to climb over. He shouted at Samsic, "Stop standing there trying to look cool and come help me." Then another helicopter flew past them. Samsic commented excitedly, "We should buy a helicopter and take it to visit Jin Woo." Yubin grinned and asked, "Do you have that much money saved up?" Sheriff grinned and said he'd start expecting a car for his next birthday present. But then they heard the radioman singing. Sheriff complained, "His radio is always so loud. It's on from morning till night. Such a nuisance." They continued their journey. Then they noticed something in front of them. They thought he was just another weird old man. Maybe the area was full of wackos or something. Yubin observed, "Something's wrong. He's wearing a suit. It's weird for a businessman to be in this area. Also, his wounds look deep. His whole body is covered in blood." Samsic approached the man. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" He tried to touch the man, but the man was already a zombie. He tried biting Samsic's leg, but Samsic pulled it away quickly and stopped the zombie with his hand. But then, the zombie bit his finger. Something they never expected. Samsic screamed, tried forcing his hand away. He told the man to please stop. Why was he biting his fingers? Yubin panicked. He could see the man's eyes had completely gone crazy. Sheriff immediately charged forward, told the man he wasn't the one who started the fight, so from now on, it would be self-defense. He then forcefully kicked the man on the head. His head slammed into the ground. He asked Samsic if he was okay. Yubin worriedly told Samsic to show him where he got hit. But then Samsic grinned and told them he was perfectly fine. He was just toying with them. Yubin and Sheriff were hella worried. Yubin told him he was lucky he was wearing those thick gloves, but then they immediately looked back as they saw that the man was already up, though they had no idea it was a zombie. Sheriff told Samsic to give him the gloves. Samsic asked why. Was he going to fight him? Yubin told him he thought the person had gone insane. They might all die. Sheriff put on the gloves, told Samsic he wouldn't fight the man. Did he think all he did was fight? The two mocked him from behind. Of course all you do is fight. Sheriff walked forward, cracked his knuckles, and told them he'd resolve it with his words like a gentleman. Yubin asked why he was cracking his knuckles then. Sheriff replied, he wouldn't fight him, unless he attacked first. Of course the man attacked him. Sheriff dodged the man's attack, then kicked him straight in the stomach. The force was intense, his ribs broken. Sheriff was like, fuck, I kicked too hard, so he tried apologizing to the man. but he came back up again, still determined to have a taste of that flesh. Sheriff was surprised. He had no idea how the man got back up. He just felt his ribs break. He immediately retreated, but he came to a dead end. Seeing the river behind him, he got an idea. He immediately dodged as the zombie charged at him. He tried catching the man from falling, but he was too late, and the man fell. Samsic sarcastically told Sheriff to turn himself in since he just killed a man. Sheriff, flustered, told him he didn't kill him. He saw it too. The guy fell into the water by himself. Yuban told him it should be okay. They weren't that high up, and the water should have softened the fall. He then suggested they should go down there and check his condition. Even if he wasn't dead, it would be dangerous to just leave him there. But to their surprise, they saw the man moving. He looked up in a direction and began running toward it. Seeing that the man looked fine, they were relieved. Samsic asked where he was running off to. There's nothing in that direction. Sheriff was a no-brainer. He told them they should eat now. The man scared the shit out of him. Yuban, the brain of the group, was thinking. He wondered how the man could be running after taking a direct hit from Sheriff's kick. And the fact that he tried to bite Samsic was alarming. Everything was kind of off-putting and unexplainable, especially the railing. The man just ran into it, but it completely shattered. How was that possible? He questioned. Sheriff interrupted his thoughts, told him to catch up already. Yuban didn't care anymore. The only thing that mattered was that no one died. And so, they continued their walk. They walked down some stairs. Samsic, saying he was hungry, said he no longer wanted to eat cold noodles, but rice and stew. He asked Sheriff how much farther before they reach. Sheriff told him they were almost there. The stairs in front of them were the last. But then they heard a sound. They were curious what it was. Samsic stepped forward, told them maybe there's a parade. Sheriff was skeptical. Yuban told him they should give up and check. Samsic stopped walking. Sheriff asked why he stopped. He should keep going. Or did he see another girl who's his soulmate? He grinned. I wonder what kind of girl it is this time. But they were shocked to see the scene before them. People screaming for help. Zombies had taken over the place. People were being killed and added to the menu. They couldn't believe their eyes. They had no idea what the hell was going on. Samsic asked if they were acting in a movie or something, like the video they saw earlier from the newbie's phone. Sheriff shouted out, "No way, dumbass!" Yuban closed his mouth, told him to keep quiet. They should get away from here. As they turned around to leave, Sheriff saw someone being eaten by zombies, but there was nothing he could do. One of the zombies saw him, which alerted the others, and they began chasing after them. They ran at full speed as the zombies frantically chased after them, determined to make them kin. Sheriff asked Yuban if he was sure this wasn't a movie. Yuban said to him, "What movie, dumbass? Didn't you see them chewing on other people? Then what the fuck is going on?" Sheriff questioned. Yuban replied, "Zombies." Sheriff was shocked. "Are you talking about zombies from TV shows?" Yuban replied, "Yes. There's nothing else that could explain what's going on now." The zombies were still fiercely chasing after them. Samsic was shouting, "They're catching up to us!" Yuban told him to please shut up. He's making him even more scared. They ran up the stairs. The zombies followed frantically. Samsic then changed direction, told them to follow him. They had no idea where he was going. He immediately climbed the iron fence and told them to come on. They should hurry and stop standing there. The zombies would soon catch up. Yuban, the weak one, was lifted up with the support of Sheriff. Seeing that the zombies were already getting close, he told Yuban to hold on tight. He then forcefully pushed them both to the other side, and they landed on the ground. They immediately got worried about Sheriff, but he swiftly jumped over the fence and landed intact. The two who were worried remembered that Sheriff is not a human. He's a gorilla for sure. But they were genuinely worried. Then their expressions darkened as they saw the zombies trying to force their way through. Sheriff asked Yuban, "Hope they can't climb past the fence?" Yuban told him, "They're zombies. They can't do that." Sheriff and Samsic finally realized they truly looked like zombies. Samsic sat down, saying he's glad they don't have to run anymore since he's out of energy. Sheriff agreed. He sat down, saying he is hungry. Yuban told them he doesn't think they should relax yet. They would be in a bad situation if the fence falls over. Sheriff told him, "Nah, that fence won't fall over, will it?" Samsic then called out to them, asking if they think Mr. Huang and everyone else got killed by the zombies. Yuban recalled the scene he saw earlier and told him that might be the case. The chances of it are high. Sheriff told them they should return to the construction site. They'll talk about other things later. But after walking for a while, they saw that the zombies were at the place they wanted to escape to. They were trapped there, completely surrounded. Sheriff asked if they should run and hide inside a room within the underground station. Yuban thought about it and told him the rooms in the station are probably locked. If they head there and the doors are locked, they'll have nowhere to run. And even if there is a room that isn't locked somewhere, the three of them can't check every single door in that large building. Samsic asked Sheriff, can't he just knock out all the zombies? Sheriff told him he can't. How the hell would he knock out guys who don't feel any kind of pain? Then their expressions darkened as Yubin asked, how about you just kill them instead? Sheriff asked, what do you mean? Yubin, determined, replied, I'm asking if you can kill them. Sheriff asked if he's serious right now. He's telling him to murder people? Yubin told him it's not murder, those things aren't even human. The zombies slammed the door aggressively with their heads. Samsic immediately ran out, saying he'd go throw rocks at them, they should not worry. He'd protect them. Sheriff looked at the zombies. He was speechless, then sighed, and told Yubin he thinks he can kill them, but he needs a weapon. He can't kill them with his bare hands, they're monsters after all. Yubin looked around and told him he doesn't think there's anything here that can be used as a weapon. If there's nothing, Sheriff told him, I'd have to use rocks, then. Samsic thought for a moment, thinking about a weapon. He felt like he saw something that could be useful earlier. He then recalled something. Sheriff, surprised, asked, what is it? He told him it's a secret, they should just follow him for now. The two were speechless. After walking for a while, Samsic arrived at a spot and picked up a spanner. That was the surprise he had for them. He gave it to Sheriff and asked if it would work as a weapon. Sheriff told him, yeah, but how did you know it was here? Samsic grinned and told him he used his telescope back then. He should remember he said he saw a wrench lying around. The two of them recalled. They couldn't believe their lens was actually working. Anyway, Sheriff told him it's good, but the problem now is, who should he attack first? Yubin told him it would make sense to target the group of three over there first. They're constantly watching them. He feels like he'll get bitten if he tries to climb over the fence. And at the back it looks like the fence is going to topple over since the zombies there are at large. Sheriff was speechless. He said to himself there's no choice. He'd have to go over the fence and fight them somehow. But before he could make that suggestion, Samsic raised his hand and told them he has a suggestion. Curious, they both asked, what is it? With a grin, he told them, I'd act as bait. Samsic said he'd act as bait. He reminded them, again, that they knew he was the fastest. His idea was to jump the fence and get the zombies to chase him, while Sheriff would sneak over and back him up. Sheriff immediately shouted that the guy was insane, always risking his life without a second thought. Yobin added that Samsic had always been like that since they were young and probably wouldn't change anytime soon. Samsic insisted he was ready, but Sheriff told him to stop the nonsense and shut up. Samsic argued that it was the best plan they had, and since he was the fastest among them, he should be the one to do it. Suddenly, Sheriff grabbed him by the collar and snapped. He asked if being fast was a free pass to throw his life away, leaving them behind to deal with the mess. Samsic told him to relax. He wasn't planning to die, why would he? But Sheriff didn't back down. He stepped closer and told Samsic to stop volunteering for death. He needed to put his own survival first. That was the rule. They would always move together. After that, Samsic smiled, said he understood, and even teased that it was touching how much they cared. Then he asked Sheriff if he wanted a kiss, which earned him a quick curse and a shove. Meanwhile, Yobin had moved to the iron fence to watch the zombies. It looked too dangerous to jump over without a proper plan. As he gripped the spanner in his hand, an idea clicked. He called out to Sheriff, who was still half wrestling Samsic, and told them to listen. They could unscrew half the bolts on the fence, just enough to open a gap. That way the zombies would come in head first, controlled and one by one. They got to work. As Sheriff worked the bolts, Samsic stood on lookout. He warned that the fence looked unstable and might topple. Sheriff, fending off zombie fingers reaching through, told him to stop talking and handle those hands. Samsic kept shouting for him to move faster. Sheriff snapped that he knew he had to hurry. He didn't need constant reminders. Finally, the bolts came loose. Yobin told them to move fast. He would bend the fence open, and they needed to take care of the zombies as they came in. As soon as he said it, he jumped on the fence and used his body weight to force it downward. It bent halfway, just enough. Then he shouted, it was time. Zombies immediately began squeezing through the gap. Sheriff stepped up, ready to strike, but he froze for a moment. It still felt like killing a human. He had to remind himself that these things weren't human anymore. He struck. The first zombie's head shattered instantly, and it dropped. But just when he thought it was done, the body twitched and started moving again. Sheriff froze in shock. It was still alive? More zombies were crowding the fence now. Yobin struggled to hold the gate, yelling at Sheriff to focus. No room for hesitation. Snapping out of it, Sheriff clenched the spanner tighter and slammed it into the zombie's skull again. This time, it stopped moving. Samsic let out a breath, saying that was close. At least Sheriff handled it, though he wondered if they only died when their heads were split open. Sheriff didn't dwell on it. He rushed over to help Yobin with the fence. As he got close, he told Yobin to let go. He'd handle the rest. He stretched out his fists and began smashing the incoming zombies one by one. Another tried to lunge, but Sheriff dodged, spun, and broke its skull clean. It kept coming, but he kept swinging. One fell, blood pouring from its head, yet it still moved. That pushed Sheriff over the edge. He slammed it again and again, demanding it die for good. Samshik and Yobin had to pull him back. It was over. There was no need to keep going. Sheriff finally backed off. But just then, a loud bang echoed from the distance. They all froze, eyes locked in the direction of the sound. It turned out the zombies had broken through the iron fence surrounding the terrain, and they were pouring in fast. They had already breached the outer layer and were closing in on the second, where Samshik, Sheriff, and Yobin were still standing. Without wasting time, Yobin told them they needed to move. Samshik repeated the call, urging everyone to get going. He was the first to dash through the cracked fence onto the other side. But when they turned around, they saw Sheriff was still frozen, staring at the incoming horde. They quickly yelled at him to move and stop wasting time. That snapped him back to reality. He rushed toward the gap, but just as he was about to pass through, his clothes got caught on the jagged edge of the iron fence. He stopped abruptly, struggling. Yobin asked what was wrong, and Sheriff replied that his clothing was stuck. He couldn't move. He tried to pull himself free, but behind him the zombies were getting closer. Sheriff tried to calm himself, thinking he could get out of the situation easily, but as he saw their twisted faces and heard the growls, panic kicked in. He told himself to forget the calm. He needed to escape. With one loud yell, he pulled with all his strength and finally tore free. He took off running, but by now more zombies were already closing in around him. He muttered to himself in relief, thankful he made it through. But just as he thought he was in the clear, a zombie crawling out of the fence reached out and grabbed his leg, holding him like someone he owed from a past life. The zombie snarled and went in for the bite. Sheriff struggled, yelling in pain as its sharp nails dug into his skin. Samshik and Yobin turned back and shouted his name, urging him to break free. The horde was closing in fast. Still struggling, Sheriff stomped hard and yelled at the zombie to let go. With one last push, he finally broke loose, but the force knocked him off balance and he rolled backward, landing near the others. They quickly asked if he was okay. Sheriff said he was, though he winced in pain. Yobin cut in, saying there was no time to feel anything. If they stayed any longer, they'd be turned into barbecue. Without looking back, they took off again. Meanwhile, not far from the chaos, a radio was still playing at a nearby construction site. An old man, someone they knew, had it hanging around his neck. As Samshik and the others kept running, they passed civilians being overwhelmed by zombies. One man, already injured, screamed for help, begging them to take him with them. But they couldn't stop. They were barely surviving themselves. Up ahead, the old man with the radio was also caught by a zombie. He screamed for help, and Samshik turned briefly, recognizing him immediately. It was the man who always played music during their lunch breaks, a familiar face, now in the middle of a nightmare. The three of them paused. Yobin hesitated, wondering if they should go help him. But as they looked again, it was already too late. Zombies were swarming him. Yobin clenched his jaw and shut his eyes. It was too risky. If they tried to save him now, they'd be devoured too. There was no choice. They had to keep running. Because this was no longer a rescue mission. This was survival. A jungle. Every man for himself. As they ran, Yobin glanced down from the high path they were on and looked at the old city below. The sight was devastating. Flames everywhere, smoke choking the sky, civilians screaming in agony, and zombies tearing through them. Even the old man with the radio didn't survive. His body was torn apart, blood covering his clothes, his eyes vacant. And then, minutes later, they opened again. He had turned. But the radio hanging from his neck kept playing. Meanwhile, deep inside the construction building, the rookie was lying among scattered materials and tools, half asleep. But suddenly his eyes snapped open. He heard shouting. It was Samshik, Yobin, and Sheriff, sprinting into the building, breathless and covered in dirt. They didn't stop moving as they frantically searched the area. Sheriff called out for Hammer, yelling his name like a lunatic. Hearing all the noise, the rookie sat up, rubbed his eyes, and saw them stumbling into the space. Still half awake, he yawned and muttered to himself, wondering what the hell they were yelling about. But that confusion didn't last. His eyes widened when he saw Sheriff raising a sledgehammer and swinging it at the staircase they had been working on. The metal clanged loudly as he struck it again and again, trying to break it apart. Yobin quickly pointed out that the staircase was reinforced. It wouldn't come apart that easily. He asked if they should look for another place to hide, but Sheriff shook his head. There wasn't time. They had to break it now. No alternatives. Samshik agreed. If they brought the right tools, it'd go faster. They needed to move. While they spoke, the rookie slowly walked toward them, still confused as hell. They were huddled together, whispering something he couldn't catch. He asked what they were doing. No one answered. They just kept working, grabbing spanners and wrenches to loosen bolts from the staircase structure. Finally, after twisting off a few critical joints, Samshik said the bolts were free. Sheriff nodded and told them to get back. He'd finish the job. The rookie, growing irritated, asked again what the hell they were doing. Why was nobody answering him? Still nothing. Sheriff lifted the hammer and kept smashing the staircase apart. To him, whatever the rookie was rambling about didn't matter. Not now. Not while the real threat was coming. The rookie could only watch, baffled, as the structure they built together was destroyed in minutes. After smashing every connection from the lower floor, they all slumped down on the ground, breathing heavily, relieved. That's when the rookie finally snapped. He yelled at them, calling them crazy bastards. How could they destroy the staircase like that? Sheriff didn't even look at him. He just threw his dusty construction jacket into the rookie's face and told him to shut the fuck up. The rookie pulled the jacket off his face and shouted back, demanding to know what the hell was wrong with them. What were they trying to do? What was all this? Yobin, still panting, told him to hold on, they'd explain everything. Let them catch their breath. Samshik added that once the rookie heard what happened, he'd be thanking them for saving his life. But the rookie wasn't buying any of it. He told them to cut the bullshit and fix the damn stairs. They still had work to finish. Then he grabbed Sheriff by the shirt and froze. His hand pulled back slightly, and he stared. The fabric was soaked in blood. He asked in a trembling voice why there was blood on Sheriff's clothes. Was that why they broke the stairs? So the cops couldn't follow them? Did they kill someone? He stepped back in horror, yelling at them to explain what the hell they did and what they were trying to hide. But Sheriff was already lying down, barely listening. He didn't have the patience for someone this clueless. As the rookie kept ranting, Yobin told him to wait. They'd explain all of it. Sometime later, after catching their breath, they told him everything. The zombies, the chase, the blood, the blocked roads, the burning cars. How the city had fallen apart. How Sheriff killed for the first time, even though it haunted him. They told him everything. The rookie stood there, stunned. He stared at them for a long time and asked if they actually expected him to believe all that. No one replied. The silence was louder than words. He gave a short, dry laugh and muttered the word zombies under his breath. Ridiculous. But then he looked down, and everything in him stopped. His eyes froze. His breath hitched. He stared down through the broken space where the stairs had been, and saw them. Zombies. They were down there. They had been there the whole time. And even worse, they weren't strangers. They were their fellow workers. Later, after everything had been explained and the panic settled, they gathered around to check the news. The newscaster's voice echoed through the static of an old radio. He calmly announced the time. The current time is 1:18 p.m. They listened. The current time is 1:18 p.m. What they saw now was nothing short of a war zone. The TV showed soul drowning in blood and chaos. Zombies tearing through streets, citizens screaming, buildings on fire. It wasn't just their area anymore. The entire country was under siege. The four of them stared in disbelief. So the zombie rampage wasn't isolated, it was nationwide. The news continued. The Korean government had called in all military and police forces, asking civilians to remain indoors and wait for the situation to be resolved. But suddenly, Sheriff's phone went black. The battery had finally died. He cursed out loud, throwing the phone aside and yelling about the damn battery. He turned to the rookie, asking if he had a charger. The rookie said yes, but his bag, along with the charger, was down there, where the zombies were swarming. Sheriff stared at him in frustration. For fuck's sake, what the hell is all this? But the rookie casually stood up, opened the fridge, and pulled out a bottle of soju. He said they didn't need to charge anything. Didn't they hear the news? They were supposed to stay put and wait for the military. He sat down, poured a drink, and told them they should just relax. But Yobin wasn't having it. He told the rookie the military wasn't coming. The rookie frowned. What do you mean they're not coming? Yobin explained that the zombie reports first aired at 1:30 p.m. It was now 6:30. 5 hours had passed, and nothing had improved. Sheriff added that the video they saw earlier had already shown chaos before the news even dropped, which meant it had been going on even longer, over 10 hours now. Samshik confirmed it. The rookie's face twisted in panic. He told them to stop talking like they were in some apocalyptic movie. He still believed this was all fixable. So he picked up his phone and dialed 112. No answer. The system message told him the police were unavailable. He screamed in frustration, yelling at the phone for them to pick up. They should fucking answer. Sheriff let out a sigh and muttered that this rookie was way too loud. He half joked about knocking him out cold. But Yobin shifted the topic, more urgent now. He asked Sheriff about his ankle. Didn't he get scratched earlier back at the fence? Sheriff admitted he might have been scratched, just a little, but he insisted he was fine. Yobin said that either way, they should sanitize the wound just in case. He asked the rookie to hand over the soju, but the rookie froze. He had just heard that Sheriff had been scratched by a zombie. His eyes widened. He muttered the word to himself, zombies, and slowly looked downstairs, where the undead still roamed the ground floor. Then the rookie snapped. He started screaming all of a sudden. Sheriff flinched, asking what the hell he was yelling about. The rookie pointed at him, his voice shaking. You were bitten, weren't you? Sheriff shook his head immediately. No, not bitten. It's not what you think. The rookie paused, let out a shaky breath, and reassured himself that if Sheriff had really been infected, he wouldn't be acting so normal. Not yet. But then Sheriff said something that broke the calm again. He clarified that it was just a scratch. The rookie lost it. He screamed, "What? Isn't that the same fucking thing?" Sheriff growled back, telling him to cut the bullshit. "I said I wasn't bitten. I'm standing here just fine, aren't I?" But the rookie kept going. He shouted at them, asking if they'd never watched a single zombie movie before. "It's not about getting bitten, it's the infection. Even a scratch can turn you." Then he pointed at Samshik and Yobin. He told them to throw Sheriff over the ledge, throw him downstairs to join his zombie buddies. They had to get rid of him before it was too late. The room shifted. The tension got real. Sheriff asked him what the hell he was even talking about, but before anyone could say more, the rookie lunged at him. He grabbed Sheriff's arm and started dragging him toward the edge. He shouted that if Sheriff had any respect for his friends at all, he'd jump on his own, before he turned. Sheriff stared at him like he'd lost his damn mind. Yobin immediately stepped in, pushing the rookie back just enough to break his grip. He told him to get a grip and calm the hell down. Sheriff isn't even turning. Who the fuck are you to decide if he lives or dies? But the rookie wasn't listening. He shouted back that they were only defending Sheriff because he was their friend. "Fine, let's all wait till he turns. Let him bite your fucking face off first. Then let's see if he's still your friend." Yobin suddenly grabbed the rookie by the collar, glaring hard. He called him a piece of shit straight to his face. Before the situation could escalate, Sheriff stepped in to separate them, forcing space between both sides. He told them to knock it off. Now wasn't the time for this crap. Yobin still didn't let it go. He warned the rookie to stay in his lane. But the rookie kept pressing. He claimed he was just saying the truth, nothing more. Sheriff, already tired of the back and forth, turned to Samshik and told him to help break them apart. But Samshik sighed and muttered that all of them were acting childish. With everything going on, this was what they were doing. But then he paused. Samshik froze and looked around, confused. Music was playing, faint but definitely real, from somewhere below them. He called for everyone to shut up. They all listened as the faint melody echoed from downstairs. Samshik stared toward the noise. Then a thought hit him. He turned to the others and said that, based on what he was hearing, Sheriff might actually be okay. The rookie scoffed. He called it bullshit and demanded to know what the hell Samshik was even talking about, but Samshik pointed downward. He said they should hear him out. He wasn't trying to bluff. They should come and look. Cautiously, the others followed him to the edge and looked down. Among the swarming zombies, one of them stood out. Sheriff looked closer and recognized him. It was the same strange old man who always carried a radio around the construction site. Samshik nodded. They all remembered. That old man got attacked by zombies after they left the fenced area. That was after Sheriff got scratched. Yobin confirmed the timeline. If Sheriff had gotten infected, he should have turned before the old man did. Hearing that, Sheriff's eyes lit up. "So I'm clear, right? I'm not turning..." But the rookie wasn't convinced. He called them all stupid and told them that viruses weren't that simple. Maybe Sheriff was fine now, but who knew what would happen in a few hours? Sheriff turned to him, clapped a hand on his shoulder, and leaned in. "If I do turn," he said coldly, "you're the first bastard I'm biting." The rookie recoiled instantly. "You crazy fuck, get your hand off me." Meanwhile, Yobin and Samshik were already laughing out loud behind them. After that, Samshik quietly slipped away. Yobin noticed and asked where he was going, but Samshik just smirked and said he was looking for something. He began climbing up to the third story. As he walked through the dusty floor, he muttered that what he needed should be somewhere around here. Then, turning to his left, he stopped. He found 2 bags tucked beside a beam. His eyes lit up. He bent down and began to open them. The rookie spotted him and shouted from below. "Isn't that our boss's stuff? Don't touch the belongings of the dead. That's just wrong." Samshik shrugged. "We don't know if he's dead." Sheriff walked over and told the rookie to back off. Whatever Samshik is doing is probably more useful than anything you've done so far. The rookie grumbled. Yeah, whatever. A while later, Samshik pulled out a few wrapped items and spread them across the ground, checking through each tool until he finally held something up. He grinned. Knew it. I knew this would be here. He called it the Savior. Just then, he glanced back and saw Yobin fiddling with something. He asked what Yobin was doing. Yobin said he'd found what he was looking for too. Everyone gathered around. Sheriff looked at the tool in his hands. Wait, is that a hammer drill? Yobin nodded. It's a weapon now. They stared at him, confused. Samshik asked what the hell he meant by weapon. Yobin grinned slightly. We're going to turn this into something useful. The plan was brutal but smart. They'd rig a pulley from the 3rd floor and use it to drop a spike board from above, slamming down into the zombies and killing them on impact. Together, they assembled the pulley rig with ropes and broken support rails, connecting the upper floor to the open space below. After some time, the contraption was ready. As they prepared for a test run, Samshik mentioned that the height from their floor looked good enough to deliver a fatal hit. Yobin took position at one end, gripping the spike board. Sheriff and Samshik stood on the opposite side, holding the rope to balance the weight. The rookie, still unsure, warned Yobin. Hitting zombie heads one by one might sound clever, but with how rough the pulley looked, would it really work? Yobin replied calmly. I get it, you're nervous. But this is all we've got. Then came the first test. Yobin released the spike board and it dropped, fast, but just missed its mark. It grazed one of the zombies' heads by a hair but didn't pierce. He shouted back to the others to pull it up. The height's too short. After adjusting the rope length and angle, they prepared for another drop. Yobin said a short prayer in his head. Let this work. This is the safest way to deal with them. Then, with one deep breath, he let the spike fly. The board dropped hard, and this time, it hit clean. It pierced straight through a zombie's chest, locking it in place on the spike. Seeing it worked, Yobin yelled to Samshik, "Pull it up, now!" Both Samshik and Sheriff braced themselves, pulling the rope back with all their strength. As the spike rose, the zombie's body lifted with it, still stuck on the metal. Once the zombie reached their level, they yelled for the rookie to grab the sledgehammer and finish the job. But the rookie stood there, frozen, trembling, eyes wide. He didn't move. Samshik and Sheriff shouted at him again. He had to kill it before it broke free. But the rookie stuttered, said he couldn't. Like the moment was too big for him. Sheriff cursed. You idiot! He told Yobin to switch places with him. He'd kill the zombie himself since the rookie was just standing there like a useless extra. But Yobin stopped him. He said he'd do it. Yesterday, he hesitated, but today he'd be the one to finish it. Without another word, Yobin snatched the sledgehammer from the rookie, stepped up, and with one brutal swing, slammed it into the zombie's skull. The blow shattered the head on contact, spraying blood across the floor. The body slipped off the spike and crashed down the stairs, breaking on the concrete below. Everything went quiet. Yobin stood still, blood dripping from the sledgehammer. Sheriff ran over, asking if he was okay. Yobin gave a dry smile. Yeah, I'm fine. Just killed a zombie. Sheriff nodded. That's true. Yobin turned back to the pulley and picked up the spike again. He told Sheriff to get ready. Before he dropped it, Yobin looked down at the floor below and counted. 23 zombies earlier. Now after that last one, 22 to go. And so the cycle began. Drop. Smash. Pull back. Kill. Each time the spike hit, a skull shattered. Each time a body fell, Yobin marked it mentally, one less to deal with. And as they kept at it, the kill count continued to climb. One zombie after another, executed from above, clean and fast. As Yobin looked around, sweat on his brow and hands gripping the pulley, he muttered that truth be told, both Sheriff and Samshik looked worn out too. They were clearly getting tired. He wondered if there was a faster way to end this mess. After a short pause, he told them they should take a break first. Only 3 zombies were left downstairs. No need to burn out now. They gathered around, catching their breath. Yobin admitted that the spike method was getting harder. With fewer zombies, it was difficult to hit anything, and even harder to lure them in with noise. Then Sheriff casually suggested something. What if we use the rookie as bait? Tie him down, let the zombies come to him. He hadn't done anything useful so far. Maybe it was time to contribute. The rookie's face twisted. Samshik raised a brow and chuckled. It's not a bad idea. But then he shrugged it off, saying they needed a better plan. After a short silence, Yobin said what they were all thinking. We go down ourselves, the rookie snapped. He stepped back, waving his arms. You're out of your damn mind. Go ahead, but don't drag the rest of us into this. Sheriff smacked the back of his head. You little bastard. Don't worry, We're not expecting help from your trembling ass anyway. Yobin grinned and told the rookie that yeah, it was dangerous, but they were doing it regardless. Sheriff agreed. Why not? I was getting bored up here anyway. Samshik stood and nodded. He's right. We already know their weak points now. It won't be as hard as before. Yobin stood up and looked around. All right then. Everyone gear up. They went to grab gloves and weapons. There were no staircases anymore, so they'd use the rope to descend. Yobin turned to the rookie and opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, the rookie cut him off. I said I'm not going down there with you. Yobin replied, I know. Just stay up here and help pull us back up when we're done. Can you at least manage that? The rookie muttered a reluctant yeah. Sometime later they were ready, one holding a spanner, another a shovel, and Sheriff with a bloodied sledgehammer. They checked everything one last time. Sheriff pointed out that the remaining zombies weren't close to their landing spot. That was their chance. Without delay, the three of them descended the ropes one by one down to the first floor of the building. Once they touched down, the rookie called from above. If any of you get bitten, I'm not letting the rope down again. Just so you know. Sheriff looked up, clearly annoyed. That guy's gonna give me anxiety. Can we even trust that bastard with our exit? Yobin replied. Relax. He knows he needs us. Without us, he's dead too. He'll cooperate. Suddenly, Samshik looked around and called out. He said he spotted something in the distance. They asked where. He pointed. 2 zombies. Over there. But, where's the third one? Sheriff said it didn't matter. If they cleared out these 2, the last would show up eventually. He stepped forward and shouted toward the 2 approaching figures. You ugly pieces of shit, come at me! The zombies charged, snarling. Sheriff braced himself. As one reached him, he swung the sledgehammer with a brutal thud, crushing its skull instantly. He looked up and saw the second one barreling toward him like a drunk tank. He struck again, smashing it mid-run. It staggered sideways, veering off course but not dead. So Sheriff adjusted his stance, lifted the hammer again, and finished it, the second blow splitting its head wide open, blood spraying everywhere. With both zombies down, he turned to Yobin. Any sign of the last one? Yobin shook his head. Not yet. Samshik came jogging back after scouting the nearby halls. He told Sheriff he didn't think the last zombie was inside the building. It might be hiding. Sheriff told them to stick close. That last one could jump out any time, and it wouldn't be friendly. Just then they heard a loud crash from somewhere nearby. All 3 of them turned. Samshik asked aloud, was that it? The last one? Yobin narrowed his eyes toward the source of the sound. It wasn't inside. It's coming from outside, he said. That didn't sound like one zombie. Then he added what they were all afraid to say. What if more of them have started gathering here? But well, Sheriff muttered. Here goes nothing. He told the others he'd go check out the sound. Yobin and Samshik were to stay back but be ready to move. He stepped outside the building, carefully scanning the area. The wind whistled through the broken structure, but he didn't see anything out of place. I don't think anything's here, he called out. But as he turned, something caught his eye, tangled in the barbed wire behind him. A zombie, a frail old woman, caught and pinned on the jagged metal. Yobin joined him and squinted. Why isn't it making any noise? Samshik looked closer and answered for him. Throat's cut. The wire probably sliced through it. Sheriff nodded slowly. She can't move either. Looks like she's done for... Then Sheriff muttered, Damn. I almost feel bad about this. Yobin offered to kill it himself, but Sheriff shook his head. He'd been doing this. He'd finish it. He raised his weapon. His eyes lingered on her face, wrinkled, worn, lifeless. Fuck, he muttered under his breath, and slammed the sledgehammer down. The blow crushed her skull, and blood splattered across the barbed wire and floor. For a second, nobody said anything. Sheriff stood still. Yobin asked if he was okay. Sheriff finally replied, From now on, I'll just think of them as trash. That's the only way I can do this. Samshik exhaled and said that Jinwoo would probably think the same way. Sheriff's head jerked toward him. Why the hell are you bringing up Jinwoo right now? Now I'm worried about him. Samshik shrugged. He's in the army, right? He's probably killing more zombies than we are. In the next scene, at the combat operations zone, the base alarm blared like a death bell. Soldiers ran through the hallways, grabbing rifles, vests, and ammo. Their sergeant barked orders at full volume. Move your asses, I said, run, you bastards. Everyone scrambled. Most of them were rookies, still green, still wide-eyed. One stumble and they'd be screamed into dust. Park Jinwoo ran among them, sweat trailing from his jaw as he sighed inwardly. This is bad, real bad. He picked up his pace. The sergeant spotted him. You, Jinwoo, don't let me catch you slacking. Jinwoo snapped back. Yes, sir. The unit moved like a hive. Soldiers checking their gear, double-checking safety pins, loading up. The sergeant called out again, demanding confirmation. Everyone got their ammo? Yes, sir. Jinwoo stared down at the magazines in his hands and blinked. These are real? He thought this was still training. He didn't expect live rounds. He stood frozen for a second. The sergeant barked again. Don't just stand there. Load your weapon and move. Yes, sir. Jinwoo responded, forcing himself to focus. Another voice rang across the yard. Squad 1, on board. Squad 2, mount up. Engines roared to life as trucks pulled away from the base. The convoy headed out, past concrete walls, through checkpoints and into the city. Jinwoo sat silently on the transport, rifle on his lap, staring ahead. Back during training, he thought, guys would be excited to finally see some action. But this wasn't training. He looked at the others. Every single rookie on that bus was pale, wide-eyed, silent, except the squad leader. Jinwoo stared at the floor of the truck, his thoughts spiraling. What the hell's going on today? Then Corporal Kim, sitting beside him, leaned in. Jinwoo, he said casually. Isn't the vibe weird today? Everyone's acting like we're about to die. Jinwoo nodded. Yeah, it does feel that way. Corporal Kim gave a sly smile and whispered. You know what they say, right? Once a soldier dies in the field, they come back. Haunt their own unit. Kill one more before they rest. Jinwoo blinked. Corporal Kim continued. That's how it starts. One dies. Another follows. Before he could get another word in, Sergeant Choi smacked him on the back of the head. Cut the bullshit, the sergeant barked. Stop fucking around. Corporal Kim laughed. Come on, I was just teasing our youngest recruit. The guy looked like he'd pass out. Choi rolled his eyes. Shut up and stay sharp. Still grinning, Corporal Kim turned to Jinwoo again, this time more serious. If you're a good sniper, you can even shoot ghosts, right? He held Jinwoo's hand and said, I'm trusting the ghosts to you. Jinwoo blinked again, saluted stiffly. Yes, sir, I'll shoot the ghosts. From the front, Sergeant Choi shook his head. What the fuck is this dumbass talking about? And why is Jinwoo playing along? But even he had to admit, the mood had lightened. The rookies, moments ago stiff with tension, started to smile quietly. Some even chuckled. Then it hit. A loud explosion. Not just one, multiple. The truck jolted slightly as the sounds echoed in the distance. Gunfire. Lots of it. Everyone fell silent. Corporal Kim turned toward Sergeant Choi. Wasn't that gunfire? Choi tightened his grip on his weapon. Is this an actual war zone? He wondered. Moments later, the truck braked hard. A voice from the front shouted, Squad 2, dismount! You've arrived at the assembly area. The soldiers jumped down quickly, feet hitting the pavement. They were escorted to the rally point, boots pounding against concrete. At the center stood the platoon's lieutenant, clipboard in hand. The time is now 18:45, he announced. From this point on, you move under strict command. Sergeant Choi raised his hand. Sir, permission to speak? The lieutenant nodded. Go ahead. We haven't been told anything. What's happening? What are we dealing with? The lieutenant didn't hesitate. He told them that the city of Samseok is overrun, infested, with zombies. A silence followed, sharp and heavy. One of the older soldiers stuttered. Zombies? Yes, the lieutenant confirmed again, with zero emotion. This is no drill. The city's gone to hell. Jinwoo stood there, frozen. He muttered under his breath. Zombies? Seriously? Corporal Kim laughed out loud, waving it off. Are you all idiots? This is clearly a training op. Roleplay shit. Some psychological endurance test or something. But Jinwoo wasn't convinced. The atmosphere. It's too real for that. More gunfire erupted in the distance. Loud. Too consistent to be blanks. Another soldier leaned toward Kim and whispered, Isn't this too realistic? Even the ammo they gave us. Corporal Kim paused. He remembered the weight in his vest, the real rounds. Yeah, he muttered. Even the ammo's legit. Just then, Sergeant Choi, the squad leader, clapped his hands and stepped forward. All right, enough. He looked around the squad, most of them still stiff, a few visibly trembling. I get it. You think this is fake, a drill. Hell, I thought the same thing. He exhaled. But listen, it's not. We don't know exactly what we're dealing with, but whatever's out there, it's killing people. The lieutenant said they didn't know how or when the zombie outbreak began, but what they did know was that it had already spread beyond Samseok. The virus was consuming the entire country. Just then, one of the soldiers raised his hand and asked the lieutenant, So what are our standing orders? Are we supposed to shoot? The lieutenant replied firmly, Yes, shoot to kill, and if you find survivors, anyone still human, help them escape. The words hit harder than expected. Soldier Quan suddenly turned pale, his breathing ragged. He stumbled back a few steps and quickly vomited on the side of the road. The lieutenant addressed the rest of them, telling everyone to pay attention. He unfolded a marked map on the hood of the truck. We've designated Samsiak as the central zone. You'll be covering this perimeter. He pointed at a red-marked location. This is your assignment. Squad 2 will investigate this apartment complex. Sergeant Choi stepped forward. What's the building layout, sir? If it's too big, our squad might not be able to clear it alone. Jinwoo said nothing out loud, but he thought the same. We're smaller than the other squads, barely trained. How the hell are we supposed to pull this off? The lieutenant replied, It's one apartment block, 10 floors. Choi nodded. 10 floors, that's manageable. But then, the lieutenant added something else. I've been assigned to remain at the assembly area and oversee further reinforcements. So I'm leaving all tactical command of this mission to you. Sergeant Choi blinked. Wait, you want me to give the orders? The lieutenant pointed at him. You weren't made squad leader for decoration, handle it. Then he turned and left. Silence swept over the squad like a winter wind. Most of the rookies just stood there, stunned, some trembling, some blank-faced. Choi finally exhaled and muttered, All right, I'll do what I have to do. The lieutenant glanced back briefly and said, I trust you'll get it done. After he was gone, Sergeant Choi turned to his squad and shouted, Attention! They straightened. You all heard the mission. We follow orders. That's it. But murmurs immediately started rising. One soldier called out in protest. Why do we have to go in there? Why that apartment? Another joined in. There are other squads, right? Why dump this on us? Panic was spreading. The rookies weren't hiding it anymore. Then Sergeant Choi snapped. I know none of you have ever been in a situation like this. Hell, to be honest, I'm fucking scared too. The squad went quiet. But look at that building. He pointed directly at it. What if someone inside is your family? Would you still stand here? Would you freeze up and let them die? Would you do nothing? That silence lasted just a second. Then a voice broke through. Private Park Jinwoo reporting. He stepped forward, clutching his rifle tight. I'll go in, sir. Whether it's for family or for a stranger, it doesn't matter. I'll do it. Corporal Kim smirked and patted Jinwoo on the shoulder. Relax, rookie. Quit trying to sound like a hero. But it was too late. The morale was shifting. The other soldiers looked at each other. They couldn't let the youngest one outdo them. One by one they nodded, fists tightening on their weapons. Let's go in, finish the sweep, and get back to base. Even Soldier Quan, still pale and shaking, muttered, Yeah, let's go. Sergeant Choi looked across his squad, still scared, still green, but ready. All right then, he said. Squad 2, move out. Let's finish this mission. Shortly after, the escort unit arrived at the designated location. They breached the barricade and moved forward, hopping over the metal fencing one after the other. Weapons raised, no one said much. Sergeant Choi gave the order. They were going in. Soldier Quan looked uneasy. He muttered to Corporal Kim that this was too much for rookies like them. No real field experience, yet they were the ones assigned to this. Corporal Kim didn't break stride. Orders were orders. Before Quan could say more, a scream rang out in the distance. Everyone dropped low, scanning. Corporal Kim looked to Sergeant Choi, who signaled for them to regroup. They would scout the apartment and surrounding area first. No splitting up, not yet. Choi pointed to a 10-floor white apartment ahead. That was the target. It wouldn't be quick, but they would move in and assess. The squad responded in sync and sprinted toward the complex. Just before they entered, Choi called to Park Jinwoo. If he was staying close, he needed to be ready to shoot on command. Jinwoo nodded. No hesitation. They hit the main road. The place looked abandoned. Blood on the sidewalk. Wrecked cars. Open police cruisers. Quan muttered something about bodies getting up. Moments later, something did, or rather, it fell. A figure crashed onto a car from above. Guns went up instantly. Jinwoo watched it closely. Either it was thrown, or the person jumped. One of the older soldiers asked if it was a zombie or human. Choi told Lee to check it out. Soldier Lee approached carefully. The man was still breathing. He said something about his leg. He couldn't move. Then Kim saw it, a bite. Within seconds, the man started convulsing, growling. His body twisted and lunged. It was fast. Lee didn't get out of the way in time. He got bitten. The squad pulled the zombie off and slammed it into a nearby wreck. Sergeant Choi realized what just happened. The bites might actually be how the infection spread. If that was true, then Lee was already at risk. He gave the order, step away from Lee. He was now a liability. Then came the sound of more incoming. From nearby streets and alleyways, zombies started appearing, dozens of them, and they were fast. Choi didn't waste time. He ordered them to get ready. Then he gave the signal, fire. The squad opened up. Continuous shots, controlled fire. The goal was simple, don't let anything reach them. Jinwoo froze for a moment. The targets still looked too human, but as one came running at him, he managed to aim and shoot just in time. Headshot, it dropped. That was enough for the others to regain focus. The squad kept firing, but it wasn't working on all of them. Someone yelled out that the zombies weren't going down. Choi remembered Jinwoo's headshot. He shouted for them to aim for the head. Kwon muttered that it was easier said than done. He tried to land shots but missed. The zombies were too fast. He panicked, looked around, and ran. He pushed a soldier to the ground and didn't look back. The one who fell tried to defend himself but was overwhelmed. The zombies dragged him down before anyone could help. Kwon hid behind cover while the others kept fighting. Sergeant Choi yelled at the squad to keep shooting. They pushed through. Eventually, the last of the zombies dropped. Silence followed. Everyone stood there breathing hard, blood on their gear. Corporal Kim turned to Choi and asked what they were going to do about the bitten. Still alive, for now. But Sergeant Choi didn't reply. Then Kwon spoke from the back. He said they should just shoot them and move on. When Kwon suggested they shoot the bitten soldiers, it immediately set off Corporal Kim. He stepped forward, clearly angry, telling Kwon not to talk like that, as if it was just another job. But Kwon didn't back down. In his mind, they all saw what happened. The bitten soldier was a threat now. He argued that waiting around could cost them more lives. Kim was torn. He didn't disagree entirely, but the thought of turning on their own made him sick. Before the tension could escalate, Sergeant Choi intervened. He told Kim to hold off and acknowledged that Kwon had a point. No one knew how long the bitten would last, so for now, they needed to stay back and report it. Then, Lee, the soldier who was bitten, called out weakly. He said he felt hot. Kim knelt beside him, trying to reassure him and treat the wound, but Lee kept groaning, louder each time. Then came the snap, bones twisting, muscles tightening. In seconds, Lee wasn't Lee anymore. He lunged. A gunshot ended it. Lee's body dropped to the ground, a bullet clean through his skull. Blood spread out beneath him. Kim stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. When he looked around, he saw Jinwoo holding his rifle steady, barrel smoking. Jinwoo asked if he was all right. Corporal Kim nodded and thanked Jinwoo for saving him. Jinwoo approached, but made it clear that the order hadn't come from him. It was Choi who'd been watching Lee's condition closely and gave the signal at the first sign of change. Choi walked up and told them he hadn't wanted to do it, but they couldn't take risks. Kim didn't respond. He looked down at the body, then muttered an apology under his breath. Their moment was cut short when another warning came from one of the soldiers. A fresh wave of zombies was approaching. Fast. The team turned toward the street and saw it, more of them, sprinting like they were chasing a deadline. Without waiting for orders, the squad opened fire. Bullets rang out again and again, tearing into the horde, but the more they shot, the more frustrated they got. It felt endless. Jinwoo found himself wondering if the gunfire itself was drawing them in. No matter how many dropped, more came running. One soldier went down, overwhelmed. Jinwoo tried to cover him, taking shot after shot, but he ran out of ammo mid-burst. Reloading fast, he resumed, hitting zombie after zombie until they finally dropped. He glanced around, still more. It was like they were pouring out of the building non-stop. Eventually, after a long, brutal exchange, the last of the zombies collapsed. The street fell silent again, only broken by heavy breathing and scattered curses. Kim took a quick count. 1 dead, Lee Jung-dae. 2 injured, Bong-song and Sung-ho. Someone asked if the injuries meant bites. Kim nodded. The response was exactly what they all feared. Sergeant Choi made the call quickly. They'd have to put the injured down and move on. Kim objected, but Choi didn't hesitate. He reminded them what had just happened with Lee, and how quickly it escalated. They couldn't afford another risk. Without waiting, Choi raised his rifle and executed both of the injured soldiers with clean headshots. The squad went quiet. Nobody spoke. Minutes passed. Some sat down where they were, trying to catch their breath. Then Kwon, still shaken, blurted out that they hadn't even stepped inside the building yet, and already 3 of them were dead. Kim snapped back, telling him to keep it together. Negativity wouldn't help anyone. As they regrouped, Kim checked the field telephone, trying to reach HQ. Nothing but static. Choi told him to keep trying, though he already seemed to know the truth. Backup wasn't coming. He stood up and called the rest of the squad together. They'd split into 3 teams. Kim would lead Jinwoo and Kang Sung to clear floors 6 to 10. Quan, Sang-ho, and Tae-sung would handle the ground level and keep watch. The rest would sweep floors 2 to 5 with Choi himself. No one argued. They nodded and moved into formation. As Jinwoo approached the elevator, he noticed it wasn't moving. He mentioned it, but Choi shut it down right away. Elevators were death traps in this situation. They'd take the stairs and clear each floor properly. Jinwoo agreed and followed the others, though a part of him couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with the elevator. After that, Group 2 and 3 moved through the top floor. Soldier Taesung was on edge, mumbling about how this felt like a scene from a horror movie. Something always happened at this point. Kim snapped at him to cut it and just opened the door. They'd cover him. Kwon opened the door slowly, then jumped back with a curse. A zombie lunged out, just inches away. Kim reacted fast, firing without hesitation and dropping the thing in a spray of blood. Soldier Taesung fell to the ground, overwhelmed with panic. He muttered to himself, convinced that something like this had been bound to happen. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Just then, Sergeant Choi gave an order to one of the nearby soldiers to confirm whether the zombie was truly dead. The soldier stepped forward, tapped the body cautiously, and after examining it briefly, reported that he believed it was down. He said the headshot earlier must have finished it. But Choi wasn't ready to take chances. He insisted that they shoot it in the head again, just to be sure. The Soldier Min, hesitated and responded that he was fairly confident he had already hit it square in the head earlier. He added again that it looked dead for certain. After hearing that, Choi finally gave the go-ahead to proceed. The squad prepared to move into the building. They all pushed forward, except for Soldier Min, who lingered behind, still watching the zombie's motionless body. One of his squad mates called back to him, asking what was keeping him. Min replied that he'd join them shortly. He turned to follow the others, but the body moved. The zombie's eyes shot open, and it lunged. Its teeth grazed Min's left arm before he could react. Shouting in pain, Min struck back with his rifle and unloaded into the creature's head, pounding and firing until the skull was reduced to pulp and blood poured out across the floor. Another soldier rushed back and demanded to know what had happened. He stared at the wrecked corpse and tried to piece it together. The zombie hadn't been dead after all. Min confirmed it. The soldier cursed, then asked if Min was all right. Min nodded, claiming he was fine and that the bite hadn't broken skin, just a graze. The soldier told him they'd need to start putting a round into every zombie's head from now on, no more assumptions. He added that Sergeant Choi would need to be informed. He told Min to keep moving. Min followed after him, glancing down at his arm as he walked. He told himself it was fine, just a scratch, but the swelling had already started. Later, they reached the area between the 4th and 5th floors. Sergeant Choi observed that the emergency exit appeared clear of the undead. He informed the group that they'd split up from this point. His team would head downward, while Corporal Kim would take his group up toward the rooftop. Securing any survivors was the priority, that went without saying. Behind the group, Soldier Min trailed behind, his expression tight. He was sweating heavily, and his body temperature had risen. Internally, he tried to shake the thought. There was no way he'd turn, not from a scratch. That's what he kept repeating to himself. His breathing grew more labored. Jinwoo, walking just ahead, noticed but didn't press it. Downstairs, the first team was moving through the lower floors searching for survivors. One of the soldiers suddenly called out to Corporal Shin, warning that zombies were converging on their position. Shin spun around, confirmed the report with his own eyes, and cursed under his breath. The hallway was crawling. He ordered one of the men to report the situation to Sergeant Choi immediately. But when the soldier tried to activate the walkie-talkie, there was no signal. The others asked what was wrong with the comms. He confirmed that he had checked the channel before the mission. Everything should have been working. Signal interference was the likely cause. Meanwhile, on a higher floor, Sergeant Choi handed Corporal Kim a backup walkie-talkie. Kim asked if the channel had been properly set. Choi assured him that it had been tuned correctly and could be used immediately without adjustments. Kim gave a nod of thanks, but just as he tested it, the device picked up a strange noise. He paused, trying to make out what he was hearing. Jinwoo, standing nearby, speculated that it might be interference from the security team, maybe someone messing with the channel from their end. Corporal Kim frowned at the failed comms and muttered that he'd let the new recruits off the hook. For now. But someone like Corporal Shin, he added, should already know how to handle a radio by this point. Meanwhile, downstairs, the squad continued trying both the telephone and the walkie-talkie to get a signal. One of the soldiers informed Corporal Shin that he still wasn't receiving anything. Shin considered the possibility that the problem was with the base signal itself. He told his men to double-check their equipment before they moved on. The soldier attempted a radio check again, but still nothing. At that moment, Soldier Quan stepped forward and advised that they get inside. If the zombies converged on them while they were still exposed, it would spiral fast. Suddenly, the walkie-talkie emitted a piercing beep, loud enough to hurt their ears and loud enough to be heard by anything nearby. Corporal Shin shouted in frustration and demanded to know what had triggered it. The soldier handling the radio couldn't explain. Shin snapped at him to shut it off immediately. Any louder and it'd bring the whole horde down on them. But it was already too late. The undead, having picked up on the noise, began shifting from their positions and moving toward the source. The soldiers raised their rifles. There was no time left. Gunfire broke out. Up on the higher floors, Sergeant Choi heard the shots echoing from below. He stopped and scanned the area, trying to confirm. The soldiers near him recognized it too. Definite gunfire, and it was coming from the first floor. One of them suggested going back to check on Group 1. Choi denied the request. His team would handle the descent. The others needed to remain in place and continue sweeping their assigned section. Corporal Kim hesitated, asking if Choi was sure. If the undead swarmed again, it could get just as bad as before. Choi reassured him. Their team was on support duty, and the search mission needed to continue without delay. Time was already against them. Jinwoo silently agreed. Only by finishing the search quickly could they hope to fall back to the base, or the designated rally points. Once they finished checking the rooftop, Corporal Kim informed Choi that his team would descend to link up with the others below. Before moving, he turned to Jinwoo and Soldier Min, telling them it was time to wrap things up and head back faster than a jackrabbit on hot plates. They both responded with firm nods. He gave them a solid pat on the back and motioned for them to move out, calling them magnificent bastards as they left. Before parting, Sergeant Choi reminded them to watch their six and stay alert. Choi's team moved in the opposite direction. At the same time, Soldier Min lagged slightly behind. His expression had grown colder, more distant. Taesung fires his weapon repeatedly at blood-covered zombies at close range. Gunfire continues, and he fails to land clean shots. The zombie is struck multiple times but continues moving as bullets tear through its body. Corporal Choi fires, while shouting for the target to go down. The zombie is finally hit critically, and collapses with a loud impact. Tae lowers his weapon slightly, surprised that the target is down. Corporal Choi comments that the shot was seen. Addressing Taesung, Kwon questions whether the infected is really dead. Corporal Choi remarks that he cannot keep a neutral face, then adds that it was not something worth reporting. Kwon suddenly notices something and points it out. Realizing the situation has escalated, Corporal Choi states that they are in serious trouble, as gunfire echoes through the area and multiple zombies move nearby. Zombies charge toward the soldiers in the street as the unit begins to move. Soldier Tae trips over debris and stumbles forward. He loses balance and falls hard onto the ground. Corporal Choi calls out to Kwon while Taesung clicks his tongue at the mistake. Corporal Choi checks on Tae and asks if he is all right. He answers that he is fine and starts to rise. Kwon suddenly notices movement and turns sharply. The group resumes running toward the apartment entrance, as the sound of pursuit grows louder behind them. Corporal Choi orders Private Kwon to head for the emergency stairs on the left. The team turns into the corridor and sprints down the hallway. A door at the end of the hall comes into view as their breathing grows heavier. They rush straight toward it and slam into the door to force it open. When door opened, in an instant Kwon goes inside and closes it. Corporal Choi shouts at him for what he has done and orders the door to be opened. Gunfire continues as zombies close in and bullets strike the walls and floor. Kwon states that opening the door would doom everyone and apologizes that he cannot allow it. He wishes them luck and turns away. The others realize he has abandoned them and curse him for leaving. Corporal Choi swears that he'll kill Kwon even after he becomes zombie. Metal bars rattle as zombies crash against the barricade from the other side. Tae opened fire in desperation. Then he realized that all bullets are fired. The gun is empty now. A zombie surges forward and grabs at him. He is struck down and dragged to the floor as others shout his name, Taesung. While he is overwhelmed, Corporal Choi braces himself and fires as zombies crash in from the corridor. He curses them and keeps shooting while the door behind him is struck from the other side. Gunfire echoes through the bars as zombies press in, and Corporal Choi is bitten and torn down, whereas the elevator stops on the 9th floor. 3 soldiers inside look up in confusion as the doors open. A blood-covered zombie body slides into the elevator and collapses at their feet. Jinwoo realized the elevator had been blocked by the corpse. The trapped zombie thrashes weakly on the floor. Corporal Kim comments on its condition and orders it to be put down. Soldier Private Choi acknowledges and raises his rifle, then pauses. Jinwoo signals to wait, and warns that firing here is not wise because the earlier gunfire already drew the zombies to the 1st floor. From below, the sound of zombies surging through the building continues to rise. Corporal Kim considers the situation and decides that taking risks over one immobilized zombie is unnecessary. He then adds that they can always kill it later if needed. Corporal Kim orders the team to begin clearing the floors, and the soldiers acknowledge the command. The trapped zombie scrapes weakly against the floor in its own blood. Private Choi notices something and grows alert. His hand tightens on his rifle as he tried to hide the scratch. Corporal Kim orders Jinwoo to bring up the rear. The hallway ahead is quiet and empty. Kim states that there are no zombies or survivors on the 7th and 9th floors. As the team moves along the wall, a faint sound reaches them from behind a door. Jinwoo signals for silence. The soldiers pause and listen. A small metal object is visible inside the room. Jinwoo raises his rifle and secures his grip. He reacts first and leans toward the doorway. As the others look on, uncertain of what lies beyond, Corporal Kim and Private Choi carefully peek into the room through the cracked door. Inside, a small child is sitting on a bed and lets out a loud cry. The unit confirms that they have located the first survivor inside the apartment. Jinwoo asks the child's name. The child answers that his name is Junbin. Jinwoo asks his age, and Junbin says he is 4. The room is reported clear. Kim tells Choi to check once more, whereas Jinwoo asks Junbin where his mother is. Junbin repeats the word mommy in confusion, then begins to cry as tears roll down his face. Jinwoo tells the child to stop crying as if a 4-year-old child would understand his words. In addition, Kim asks the child not to attract zombies. Jinwoo reassures Junbin that his mother will come back soon. Afterward, Choi wonders what they should do next. Kim points out that the child has been alone for some time, and adds that his parents were likely taken by zombies. The unit discusses the risk of bringing the child along, noting that it would be dangerous while the mission is still active. They also acknowledge that backup may not arrive in time. Kim decides that the child should still come with them. Choi agrees with the decision. Jinwoo volunteers to carry the child, but Kim refuses and assigns that task to Private Choi instead, stating that Jinwoo is a better shooter and must focus on combat. He then orders that a note be left in case anyone comes looking for the child and instructs that Sergeant Choi be informed of the situation afterward. The radio is passed across, and the order is acknowledged. Kim warns Choi to make sure the child does not cry again. Jinwoo asks where the corporal is headed, and he replies that he is going for the natural call. He grits his teeth and moves aside. A note is written by Jinwoo stating that the child has been taken with the team for safety. He confirms it is time to notify the sergeant. Choi approaches Junbin and tells him about riding on an airplane. Junbin agrees and reaches out. Jinwoo comments lightly that Choi is good with children's. As the child is held, a wound on Junbin's hand is noticed. Jinwoo recalls seeing Choi earlier resisting a zombie. The realization sets in that the injury came from that encounter. Choi carrying Junbin raises him up playfully. Jinwoo calls out to Choi. Choi looks back in confusion. A mechanical click is heard. When Kim came back from natural call, he turns sharply and calls out to Jinwoo, demanding to know what he is doing. Jinwoo raises his rifle and pointed to Choi. After a brief moment, Choi stiffens as Kim steps closer and demands to see the injury. When he reaches for his arm, Choi lashes out and knocks the hand away. The rifle's muzzle swings and briefly aligns with Junbin's head. Choi shouts for Jinwoo to stop and lower the weapon and asks if he wants to see Junbin's brain or something. Kim states to comply with Choi for now, whereas Jinwoo warns that the wound could be from a zombie bite. Choi yells again for Jinwoo to put the gun down. Kim reassures Choi that they'll cooperate, just don't hurt the child. He states that Choi isn't turned yet, so it's all good. Choi snaps back that he wasn't bitten, shouting the same denial over and over until his voice cracks. Kim lifts both hands, speaking slowly, telling him to calm down and place the rifle on the ground so they can talk properly. Choi's voice breaks into another shout, insisting they'll shoot him anyway as he racks the bolt. Kim tries to reason with him, telling him not to overthink it, but Choi isn't listening. He accuses them again, voice shaking as he asks if they think he's stupid. Kim tells him no one is trying to shoot him, but Choi points at Jinwoo and insists they all saw what happened, the sergeant killing the bitten soldiers. His voice drops into a warning as he tells them not to move even an inch. The child keeps crying. Choi's eyes flick downward toward him. A beat of silence follows, and guilt flashes across his face. He whispers to himself, wondering what he's done, then suddenly lets go of the child and sprints toward the exit. The kid stumbles forward, running to Kim as the curtain swings open behind Choi. Kim calls out after him, but Choi doesn't stop. He braces himself against the wall, heaving, blood spilling from his mouth. The rifle slips from his grip and clatters to the floor. Kim calls his name again, stepping toward him, asked if he's all right. Jinwoo raises his weapon and orders the corporal to stay back. Kim's eyes widen as he takes in the sight. Choi's posture slumped, a low growl vibrating from his throat. Kim mutters that it can't be. Choi slowly turns, eyes clouded and unfocused. His body twitches once, and his mouth curls into a feral snarl. Choi charges at them in his twisted state. The soldiers pull back, shielding Junbin as best they can. Jinwoo steadies his rifle, addressing Choi by name and apologizing. A single shot rings out. Blood sprays across the wall, and Choi's body collapses out of sight. Junbin clings to Kim's leg, shaken. Kim asks Jinwoo if he is all right. Jinwoo answers that he is and asks about Junbin. The child is checked over and confirmed to have no bites, only frightened tears. Kim places a hand on Jinwoo's shoulder and tells him they can deal with the guilt later. They need to move. He agrees, and Kim adds that too much time has already been wasted. They reach for the door, planning to head down immediately, but pause when the handle creaks. He realizes something. Jinwoo asks what's happening. Kim recalls what Jinwoo said earlier about zombies being attracted to gunfire. The soldiers exchange uneasy looks as distant shrieks echo through the floor. He tells Jinwoo he was right. Zombies gather outside, pressing toward the sound of the gunshot, whereas Sergeant's group dashes down the stairs, their footsteps echoing through the stairwell. They halt when another noise cuts through. The soldiers freeze and listen. Then they retreat down the stairs, stopping when a figure collapses onto the landing below them, panting hard. Sergeant Choi stares in confusion and calls out to Kwon. Kwon looks up at them, struggling to catch his breath, and stammers out a greeting to the sergeant. The sergeant immediately demands to know what happened downstairs and where the others are. Kwon forces out that zombies swarmed them during the watch, and they lost everyone. The sergeant asks for the numbers. Kwon kneels on the floor, still shaking, and answers that he couldn't get an exact count, maybe around 20, possibly more now. The sergeant studies him with a hard stare. Kwon notices the look and wonders why he's being watched so closely. Questioning whether his lie was discovered, the radio crackles. A message repeats, "This is Alpha, calling any available Bravo teams." Elsewhere in the room, Kim rubs his forehead, frustrated. With Junbin sitting beside him, he mutters that the situation on the first floor is unknown, and there are too many zombies to force their way through. The child tugs at his uniform while Kim asks Jinwoo what he's doing. Jinwoo stares outside the room and begins counting under his breath. He continues counting as zombies wander below. The numbers grow, 3, 4, until he reaches 50. He notes that it matches his expectation. He watches their movements and confirms his thought. The zombies are moving in a predictable pattern. One growls as it wanders past. Jinwoo tells Kim he has found a way out. Kim reacts with surprise and demands to know how. Jinwoo explains the pattern as the zombies continue shifting along the same routes, giving him the opening idea he needed. He explained that the zombies took 20 seconds to circle back from the emergency exit and roughly 50% to return to the starting point. The timing gave them a narrow window, maybe 20 seconds at best, to slip out. Kim agreed it was enough for the two of them, but not ideal with the child. The kid rolled on the floor with his toy car while the soldiers planned. Jinwoo offered to head out first and test the pattern. If his theory held, Kim could follow. Before he could finish, Kim smacked the rookie's helmet, calling him overconfident but agreeing to check the theory himself. Jinwoo warned it could be risky. Kim replied that this was exactly why he wore the extra stripes. He opened the door slightly, stepped into the dim hall, and moved along the outer wall, watching the pack shift in the distance. The sounds of their movement echoed in the corridor. He kept low, gripping the knob of the next door for support, thinking everything was going smoothly so far. He glanced ahead, tracking the pack's path. If the timing stayed consistent, he figured they might make it through in a single attempt. Kim motions sharply for Jinwoo to follow, waving him forward with a tense urgency. Jinwoo nods back, gripping his rifle as he slips toward the doorway. Junbin nearly loses his toy car, the little vehicle sliding out of his hands as he stumbles. Jinwoo catches him by the arm, hauling him close as they move down the narrow outdoor corridor. The toy tumbles, skidding across the ground before clattering loudly. Both men freeze. The toy's honking carries across the courtyard. The zombies jolt as one, heads snapping upward, their shrill cries ripping through the air. In seconds, the mass shifts, bodies piling toward the source of the sound. When bot soldiers analyze the situation, they move in an instant. Kim closes the door attached with the stairs, and Jinwoo with Junbin go back in the same room and closes the door in an instant. Jinwoo realizes the door is going to buckle any minute from now. He wonders if he should block the entrance and call for back. He thought if waiting would be a better option or not. He watches outside and thought about jumping off from here, whereas the elevator moves between floors. A soldier calls for the sergeant. The sergeant pauses, then responds. He identifies himself as Bravo Actual and answers HQ. From headquarters, someone requests a status update on the current operation. Sergeant replies the Samchuk apartment search is ongoing, the unit is isolated, and they need confirmation on rescue support feasibility. He is told to stand by. Several soldiers gather around while the reply comes through. HQ confirms one Chinook is already conducting a rescue operation nearby. The helicopter will adjust course to the apartment rooftop with an ETA of 15 minutes. The sergeant acknowledges the message and ends the transmission. Quan clenches his fist, convinced he can still reach the rooftop in time. He grits his teeth, frustration tightening his expression. A soldier asks the sergeant if the new orders mean they are pulling out. The sergeant explains that the zombie situation in the apartment and surrounding area is too large, and their platoon cannot handle it alone. He states they are withdrawing for now. He instructs the soldier to tell Corporal Kim to finish the search and head to the rooftop. The soldier acknowledges and runs. Kim skids to a halt on the stairs, breathing hard. Sergeant turns sharply and demands to know where the rest of his men are. Still panting, Kim tries to answer. He says Private Choi was bitten by a zombie. The soldiers around Kim react with alarm. As Kim continues, struggling to get the words out, he adds that Jinu is also involved, and shouts for Dusan to call Jinu on the radio. Dusan tells him to slow down and explain clearly. Kim manages to say there is a kid with Jinu. He raises his voice saying Jinu has a kid with him and both might end up dead. The transmission connects. Dusan calls Jinu. Jinu responds and tells him to go ahead. Dusan asks for an update on Jinu and the survivor. Jinu begins to report their status, but a violent boom interrupts. A message follows stating zombies are at the front door and breakthrough is imminent. The soldiers tense as the screeching grows. Jinu continues trying to give details of his situation while the pounding intensifies. He warns that the zombies are breaking through fast. Dusan and the others react, the tension rising as the sounds close in. Kim radios Jinu, telling him to hold tight because backup is being sent. A report comes through that Jinu is attempting to rappel down using an escape rope. Kim reacts to the mention of the rope. Outside the apartment, a rope mechanism extends. A soldier asks Jinu if he can make it down to the third floor, and Jinu confirms. His boot steps onto the railing as he begins the descent, holding the child and telling him to hold on. He drops several floors, counting down from 7. He keeps descending, continuing the countdown until he reaches 4 and 3. He pushes off the wall and swings toward a lower balcony, breaking through a window with a loud crash. Glass scatters as he lands inside. He checks the room and confirms it's empty. He lifts the child and catches his breath. He hears soft taps nearby and looks up. Something hits the floor with a light sound, prompting him to react. Jinu watched through the cracked door and see 2 zombies roaming there. Jinu radioed in, reporting a successful rappel to the 3rd floor and requesting an update. He confirms 2 biters in the hallway and asks for further orders. Kim suggested taking down the 2 biters, but Sergeant warned the gunshots would attract more and leave them trapped, whereas Quan grumbled, thinking they should abandon the others, wondering why they should risk everyone for a single life. Weapons clicked as the group prepared. Sergeant pointed out there were only 2 biters and said they could handle them without firing. Another asked if bayonets would work since bullets barely affected the biters. Kim explained he had seen Private Choi kill one with a rifle butt, but only with a hard hit to the head, adding that accuracy was the real issue. He noted their movements weren't exactly human. Sergeant told the squad he wouldn't force anyone, offering them the option to fall back to the rooftop. Kim, as expected, committed immediately, refusing to leave a direct subordinate behind. Another pointed out they still had 5 minutes left and joined as well. Dusan told them he would try to keep the extraction team on standby as long as possible, whereas Quan wavered, muttering that the others were out of their minds, so he tried to step back. Noticing this, the sergeant decides to give him different orders. He was relieved when the sergeant assigned him to the rooftop instead. He nodded and left. The remaining soldiers prepared for the operation. One grinned, thinking he had almost been dragged along. The sergeant ordered them forward. They appeared above the hall and called out to the biters. They lunged toward the zombies. The soldiers charged, aiming for the softer parts of the infected. One promised to deliver the finishing blow, and they all pushed forward. The soldiers shouted as the zombie shoved against them, telling each other to hold their ground. The bloodied zombie screeched and pushed harder. One soldier realized he had to finish the current one before the second zombie arrived. He swung his weapon, cursing as he tried to pin it down. They stabbed repeatedly while it thrashed beneath them, yelling for it to stop squirming. The second zombie screeched from down the hall, rushing toward them. A soldier warned the sergeant it was approaching fast and that their current plan wouldn't work. He said they might have to fire. The sergeant hesitated, wondering if there was no other option. The zombie slammed into a metal door, breaking through. Its face smashed against the surface before dropping. Jinu charged in and swung his weapon overhead, smashing the infected's head with a heavy blow. Blood splattered as he continued striking until the zombie collapsed. The body hit the floor with a thud. The remaining soldiers caught their breath. Kim stared at Jinu and muttered that he was unbelievable. Sergeant caught his breath and admitted he understood why Kim were happy to see Jinu, but but he said the reunion could wait until the job was done. Ahead of them, another zombie rushed toward the group, whereas Quan sprinted up a stairwell, breathing hard. He told himself he had almost made it. He burst through a doorway, relieved he wasn't dead and glad he'd reached this far. He thought about Sergeant Choi, convinced the sergeant didn't believe anything he'd said. Even if he avoided punishment, the lie frustrated him. He slammed the door shut, muttering that it would be nice if everyone else died before exposing him. He locked the door, telling himself it was to stop stray biters. He stepped outside and reassured himself he wasn't doing anything wrong by looking out for himself. A large group of zombies stood ahead. He paused in silence as the swarm suddenly turned toward him. Shock hit him and he shouted in confusion. He grabbed the rooftop hatch and tried to open it, slamming his fist against it when it didn't budge. He panicked, demanding to know why it wasn't opening. His hands beat against the lock again and again, but it stayed shut. The swarm reached him. The zombies lunged, screaming as they fell onto him. He cursed at them and fired, but the gun clicked empty. They crashed into him, biting and tearing. He screamed as the zombies overwhelmed him. His scream broke out while zombies swarmed over him, their jaws snapping and crunching. He stared upward, his face streaked in blood, whispering for them not to do this. His eye trembled as the biting grew louder, and his thoughts repeated the same plea. A helicopter cut across the night sky, its blades echoing through the buildings. Inside, a soldier muttered that hell had nothing on this, and another admitted he was glad to be up there instead of below. One of them spotted the apartment, confirming the target but sounding uncertain. The helicopter hovered while the zombies below shrieked at the sight of it. One of the crew questioned whether they could land safely. Inside the building, blood pooled under a collapsed corpse pinned by a weapon. Jinu commented that not being able to shoot made killing one a chore, and Sergeant noted they wouldn't be in this mess if taking them out were easy. He ordered Jinu to go bring the kid out, and the man answered with a short confirmation. As he stepped forward, a faint buzzing noise came from his radio, drawing his attention. The static-filled radio cracked against Alpha's ear as he tried to reach Bravo, calling for a response. Bravo finally answered, snapping his radio free and identifying himself. Alpha relayed the situation, noting heavy zombie presence on the rooftop. The Chinook pilot advised against landing, forcing the ground team to reassess. Sergeant snatched the radio, requesting confirmation on the rooftop head count. The answer came back, dozens. His jaw tightened as he requested the helicopter's remaining availability. The reply was grim, 5 minutes at most. Frustration surged through the team. One soldier slammed his fist against the wall, yelling that 5 minutes wasn't enough, claiming it took that long to kill just one infected. He questioned how command expected them to get through dozens in that time. Sergeant acknowledged the report, ordering that the Chinook be informed the ground team would handle the situation directly. Another soldier muttered that none of this added up, arguing they should have been evacuated from another building entirely. A soldier told him to calm down, reminding him the helicopter crew was dealing with danger too. Jinu's soldier demanded clarification. On that, Kim explained that if Private Kwan's intel was accurate, the zombies from the surrounding area had already pushed through the lobby, meaning both the rooftop and ground floor were equally compromised. The soldier stiffened, realizing the lobby security team must have been overrun. Only Kwan escaped. The others didn't survive. Kim then remembered Kwan had headed upstairs. The sergeant muttered that despite all the whining, the kid was resourceful and likely still alive on his own. The squad stayed quiet as he stepped forward down the corridor. Kim called to him while they all continued their slow climb through the floors. Another asked what he intended to do. He stated they were heading to the rooftop. He stopped by the door and explained they needed to draw the biters out first. A soldier questioned how, but the sergeant already had a plan, gripping doorknob in his hand. He explained zombies reacted to gunshots and to people, and with that knowledge he decided he would act as bait. The squad objected immediately, insisting they couldn't let him sacrifice himself. Another argued that saving themselves at his expense wasn't an option. The sergeant replied that in that case, they might as well die together. He reminded them they were soldiers, then motioned toward the child in Jinu's arms, pointing out the boy's presence. One soldier asked if he truly had a plan. He confirmed he did. He would run ahead of the infected down the stairwell, drawing them away from the rooftop. Once he reached a lower floor, he would break into a side corridor, let the horde pass, and then circle back to rejoin the squad. The sergeant stated that this plan seemed like their best option. Before he could continue, Jinu raised his hand and objected. He stepped forward with the child in his arms and said he didn't think the sergeant's idea was the right move. Kim scolded him, telling him to learn when to stay quiet and earn more experience before speaking. Jinu insisted they all knew zombies were fast, and Jinu explained further. To act as proper bait, someone needed to sprint down 4 flights quickly, and he reminded the sergeant how fast he was. Kim yelled that he wasn't slow either if speed was the issue. Jinwoo continued, saying the most important factor was the risk. There was no guarantee that the lower floor he reached would be clear of biters. The sergeant asked what he was implying. Jinwoo explained that coming face to face with a zombie left only one reliable way to put it down: shooting. Kim scoffed and challenged him, asking if he wanted to be the bait just because he was the best shot among them. Jinwoo confirmed it. Kim tried to grab him, shouting that he should smack him for that. Soldiers pulled back, telling him to let go, demanding to know if he hadn't heard what was just said. He muttered that all the praise for the private's marksmanship had finally gone to his head. The sergeant then stepped forward, stating that firing from the 6th floor could draw zombies from the bottom levels as well, isolating the decoy. He said he wouldn't allow the rookie to be sacrificed like that. Jinwoo held the child close and stated that he wasn't going to die in that manner. The sergeant facing him asked if he had a plan. Jinwoo nodded and answered that he did. He said he would take advantage of the elevator. Jinwoo started to tell his plans and instructed Corporal Kim and Private Park to secure the elevator on the 9th floor through the central staircase. The two soldiers peeked around the corner, then rushed forward as a zombie scraped across the floor. They stabbed it until it stopped moving. Jinwoo continued the instructions, telling them that once the elevator was secured, they were to proceed immediately to the 6th floor. One of them pressed the button inside the elevator. The door slid closed. Jinwoo told them to give the radio signal as soon as they arrived. Corporal Kim reported through the radio that the elevator was secured. Jinwoo instructed Sergeant Choi and Corporal Baek that once the team reached the 10th floor via the emergency staircase, they were to clear the corridor and wait behind the exit door. He added that they needed to be ready to move to the rooftop once he drew the zombies away, taking down any remaining biters while they advanced. The two soldiers pounded on the door as they prepared. He told them that once they gave the signal, he would begin the operation. He dashed forward, checking his watch. He stated that in the event they didn't see him within 4 minutes, or if the elevator didn't open within 20 seconds after the first gunshots, they were to link up with the 10th floor team without delay. Through all this instructions, Corporal Kim muttered to himself, calling Jinwoo cocky, and assuming he was acting like he was in charge. He said he needed to knock some sense into Jinwoo, so Jinwoo had better come back alive. Whereas Jinwoo rushed forward, gripping his weapon as he ran. Sweat rolled down his face while he noted that everything was going smoothly so far. He told himself that the rest depended on him now. Breathing heavily, he climbed the stairs. His eyes locked on the stairs and he steadied himself while gripping his rifle tighter, hoping things would work out. His foot slammed hard against the door as he burst through the doorway. Zombies turned toward him with blood covering their faces and dripping from their jaws. The corridor rattled as the infected screeched and charged. He fired as they closed in, unleashing a rapid burst. The bullets tore through the crowd, dropping several zombies as they lunged. More surged forward through the blood-soaked passage. As an infected or say zombie, Private Kwan, drenched in blood, screamed. Jinwoo froze at the sight, shouting Kwan's name in shock. Then he steadies his rifle, chambers the next round, and mutters a final farewell before pulling the trigger. The shot tears through the corridor, breaking apart Zombie Kwan's head. Blood sprays across the walls as zombies collapses. More zombies screech in response, rushing toward the source of the gunfire. Jinwoo fires again, bullets ripping through bodies as the horde presses closer. The barrage finally forces them back for a moment. Jinwoo steps away from the doorway, knowing the noise has drawn them exactly where he needed. He decides it's time to lead them further down the building. He sprints toward the stairs. Behind him, the zombies crash down the steps, tripping and tumbling over each other as they chase. Their screams close in as he descends floor after floor, jumping railings to gain distance. His boots slam onto the landing marked 8 degrees Fahrenheit. He glances at the number and slows just enough to steady his footing. Floor 6. This is where he needs to be. Jinwoo stops on the 6th floor, catching his breath. A faint pause hangs in his thoughts before a loud crunch echoes from the hallway. Smoke drifts through the air as he sees a zombie eating a corpse near the door. He gulps and mutters to himself that this is not good. A sudden movement draws his eyes as more zombies begin to stir. A deep roar rises from within the smoke, followed by the horde turning toward him. They screech and rush forward, blood covering their faces and clothes. Jinwoo steadies his breathing with a short exhale and readies his rifle. He loads the next round as the zombies charge through the corridor. He fires, blasting apart the head of the first zombie. More push forward, their screams trailing behind them. He swings his rifle, firing again while stepping back toward the open space. A zombie collapses after the shot, thudding into the floor. Others screech and scramble over the body. One leaps forward, followed by another, both intent on reaching him. Jinwoo loads again, drops into position and fires twice. Blood sprays as the bullets hit, and the two zombies fall, sweat sliding down Jinwoo's jaw as a dull thump echoed again. A low growl followed, rolling through the building like something hungry waking up. The moment he glanced back, he caught the blur of bodies rushing toward the stairwell, zombies piling toward the light, while Jinu's face twisted in panic as he realized they were closing in. Kim and Park waited at the elevator doors, flinching at the gunshots from another floor. One guessed Jinu must have run into a group of biters. The other snapped that he heard it too, and told him not to work himself up. Park tried to suggest they help, but his superior cut him off and ordered him to calm down. Kim studied the floor indicator, thinking that if any biters reached the elevator first, they'd all be in trouble. He listened again. Silence. Now, no more gunshots. Park hoped Jinu had taken them all down. Kim wasn't convinced. Then he recalls Jinu's order. If he didn't return in 4 minutes, or if the elevator failed to open within 20 seconds after the gunshots, the others were to link up with the 10th floor team without hesitation. He checked his watch, counting off the time. Park estimated 20 seconds had already passed. More than enough for Jinu to reach the elevator. Kim wondered aloud if the zombies had gotten him. He exploded, telling him to shut up and not say another word. But when they heard frantic footsteps racing toward them, panic cracked through their discipline. From outside the elevator, someone begged Kim to open the elevator. Recognizing the voice approaching, Park whispered that it was Jinu. Panic surged. He hammered the panel, demanding the doors open as the wall buttons sparked under his strikes. The elevator finally screeched in response. Jinu burst into view, sprinting down the hall with several zombies close behind. Park shouted at Kim to close it quickly. Kim would shut the door while he covered Jinu's approach. Kim confirmed and got ready. Jinu and Park fired into the hall while Kim slammed the button. He yelled as he forced the doors closed. Jinu barely made it inside. The doors shut, trapping the zombies on the other side as they thudded against the metal. The team caught their breath. Meanwhile, gunfire echoed from a nearby stairwell. Sergeant and Corporal Bake rushed up toward the sound. More shots rang out as a helicopter hovered overhead, its blades scattering smoke and debris across the rooftop. The squad regrouped and searched for Corporal Kim. Bake said he'd contact him. The elevator reached the 10th floor, and a voice called over the radio requesting Kim's location. Kim stepped out of the elevator, joking that Dusan must be panicking. He responded over the radio, reporting their current location on the 10th floor, and confirming they would proceed to the rooftop. Sergeant exhaled and muttered under his breath. Kim said they should wait until they tell the corporal about the stunt they had just pulled. Park agreed, saying they could finally get out. Jinu froze when he heard a loud roar and spotted zombies coming through stairs. The group rushed up the stairs. Jinu told Kim to move, and warned that the zombies were coming up fast. They questioned why the zombies weren't staying on the 6th floor. Jinu said they were reacting to the helicopter. He worked the gun and fired into the stairwell. More shots followed as zombies pushed upward. Kim shouted they would cover Jinu and ordered him to get up to the next level. Jinu yelled back to forget it, and told them to secure the landing zone while he held the zombies back. Kim groaned at hearing that again. As gunfire continued, Kim muttered he would kill Jinu once he made it up and shouted at him not to die. Both burst through a rooftop door. They spotted the helicopter waiting. Sergeant asked what the shots were, and where Jinu had gone. Kim explained that Jinu was holding off the zombies pushing onto the rooftop. Sergeant moved past the others, saying they would back Jinu up, and the squad responded. The helicopter's wheels shifted as it began to lift, wobbling under the strain. One soldier shouted not to take off yet because a man was still down there. The crew replied that they had to leave. The soldier argued again, shouting that one soldier was unaccounted for, but the crew answered that they couldn't jeopardize everyone for one person. Kim looked toward the rooftop edge as the helicopter began to rise. Jinu appeared below, sprinting toward the building, as zombies closed in behind him. The helicopter tilted upward, leaving the rooftop. Kim leaned out, yelling for Jinu to go faster. He saw Jinu still running and pushed himself forward. Jinu reached the edge and leaped upward. Kim stretched out his arm toward Jinu as the wind pulled both of them off balance. He reached out, but his hand fell short, and Kim's fingers barely brushed his. Jinu slipped away into the open air. Kim choked out a broken denial as the helicopter kept rising. He slammed his hand against the floor, cursing himself for not reaching farther. He muttered that he should have done more, calling himself stupid. A soldier barked at him, drawing his attention. Below the helicopter, Jinu dangled from the extraction rope, shouting up that he could use some help. Kim leaned out, grabbing hold as the helicopter steadied. Inside, Kim muttered that they were lucky the extraction line had been rigged. Kim said he should hate Jinu for pulling a stunt like that, then looked over at Jinu, who'd fallen asleep right after dragging someone through hell. Soldier told him to ease up, reminding him that Jinu had saved all of them. Kim insisted he wasn't hating, only annoyed, saying he could at least admit that much as Jinu's superior. The sergeant sat back, grinning quietly before asking if they were heading back to base. The answer came hesitantly. Soldier explained that the base was as good as useless. He said civilians were being relocated to nearby shelters, while troops were being stationed around the Samchuk nuclear power plant. Sergeant responded that he understood. One soldier questioned the mention of a nuclear power plant. Another muttered that they were in over their heads. The helicopter blades continued beating through the sky as the aircraft moved away. A car sped past the Good Health General Hospital. 4 men stood in the road as the vehicle approached. The car slammed into 3 zombies, sending bodies crashing and cracking against the hood before tumbling aside. The driver hit the brakes, skidding to a stop. The door opened, and a man stepped out, the heel of his shoe touching the ground. He clicked his tongue and asked why one of them had to get in the way. He stood beside the car, one arm in a sling, irritation clear across his expression. He said his shoulder was already killing him and addressed the zombies as bastards. Before 5 minutes, some zombies tried to break the entrance of the hospital. A nurse flinched behind the reception desk, staring at the splintering glass while a man whispered that the things had returned. Her colleague hushed her quickly, reminding her how their voices had stirred the zombies into a frenzy earlier. Outside, the zombies dragged their ruined bodies toward the hospital doors, smearing blood across the glass. The 2 workers retreated a step, fear rising as they wondered whether rescue would ever come. He tried to sound calm, but even he admitted that every authority and private security force had gone silent. A boom cracked through the hall, followed by the low growl of the creatures pushing deeper inside. He wiped sweat from his brow, muttering that chaos had swallowed both the building and the streets outside. Before he could finish, headlights washed across the entrance. A car tore through the infected, bones snapping under its wheels as bodies slammed across the pavement. Tires screeched, the engine roared. The nurses shielded their eyes from the sudden glare, confused by the crash echoing through the lobby. The car skidded to a stop. A door swung open. A single step hit the ground. A man stepped out from the car. His ear caught the light as he stared at the mangled corpses blocking his path. He muttered in irritation, wondering why they had to get in his way. He rolled his shoulder once, wincing at the lingering pain, muttering that it was already killing him as he glared at the horde. Zombies swarmed and tore into each other, limbs cracking as bodies collapsed. A pair of them lunged forward with a roar. He tightened his grip on the blade and muttered that he'd finish this quickly, rushing ahead with a sharp whoosh. His knife cut through flesh in a clean slash. He glanced up, saying he didn't feel like waiting in line today. Blood sprayed as his blade sliced through more of them. Bones crunched beneath his attacks. The 2 workers watched, shocked. Bodies slumped around him as he stood still, letting the knife fall from his hand. He looked down, realizing he hadn't come here for nothing. He stepped forward toward the hallway. The 2 employees ran toward him in panic, begging him to save them. He looked at them, confused, asking what now, just as the door blasted open with a loud boom. He pushed through, complaining that this place was the same as everywhere else. He steadied his breathing, lifting his injured arm with a low click of annoyance, wondering how much more he had to do to get it treated. Ending the thought with a quiet tisk, he asked the 2 how many people had originally been inside the building. The doctor answered that including patients and staff, around 30 had been inside, though only the 2 of them survived. He asked if they are sure, and the doctor answered yes. Hearing that, he noted that they would already be dead or turned if all 30 had become monsters. The nurse insisted they weren't lying, her hands trembling as she spoke. He considered the situation, wondering if the fire shutters had protected them. He reasoned that if another shutter existed upstairs, he could accept their claim. He concluded it must have kept the creatures contained. He calculated that 30 biters scattered across 4 floors, with no way of knowing if more waited elsewhere, left him little choice. He asked where the main entrance shutter switch was located. The doctor pointed him toward the desk. He moved over and reached for the control panel. A click followed as he pressed the button. The shutters rattled loudly. The 2 panicked, asking what he was doing. They yelled that he was trapping them and insisted they would die. He told them they had been sheltered for too long, and whatever waited outside was worse. A sudden boom from outside drew their attention. Zombies pressed forward against the door. He stepped away, muttering that this place was paradise compared to the streets. Just before the creatures above shrieked and crashed against the barriers. The 2 survivors fled deeper inside as he trudged off, ignoring their panic. When they asked where he was going, he replied that he had cleanup duties. He watched a severed, twitching hand hit the door near him, its thumps echoing off the floor. He told them he was simply skipping the line, then moved on. Outside, rain swept across the city as soldiers worked, shouting directions while shifting barricades and wreckage. Vehicles groaned as they pushed abandoned cars aside. Orders rang out to hurry, hammer in the stakes, and prepare the wires. The squad rushed to obey. The women staggered toward them through the storm, barefoot, splashing through puddles as she approached the barricade. The soldiers glimpsed her silhouette and turned as she called out weakly. One soldier stepped closer when she asked for help, and the others watched her stumble forward, pleading. Assuming she is a bitter, soldiers raised their rifles instantly, and bursts of fire tore through the downpour, as the woman covered her head and crouched reflexively, gunfire flashing around her, her scream fading into the rain as the soldiers jerked in shock. One of them demanded to know what the hell they'd just seen, another insisting it was a biter and raising his weapon, only for the lieutenant to snap at him, not to shoot. The younger soldier faltered, realizing too late she wasn't a zombie at all. They argued in the downpour, the lieutenant furious that his warnings about proper procedure were ignored. The subordinate bowed his head with a shaky apology. Orders followed: fetch a blanket, move quickly, and soon a pair of soldiers hurried toward the collapsed girl. They reached her through the rain-soaked street. She trembled, confused as they apologized for the mistake and tried to soothe her nerves. The lieutenant explained the tension, the constant fear that made everyone twitchy, and she nodded weakly, letting them lift her upright. They supported her on both sides, telling her to take it easy as she whispered her thanks. But the moment they tried to move her, the lieutenant's eyes dropped to her leg. His expression sharpened. He barked for everyone to back away immediately. Rifles snapped up in an instant. She froze as he pointed at the injury on her thigh. He demanded to know how she got that wound, whether she'd been bitten. Rain streaked down her cheeks as she stammered, startled by the sudden shift. She echoed the word back at him, barely able to understand why he was interrogating her like a threat. Her voice broke in confusion, asking why he was questioning her this way as she lay helpless in the mud, the barrels of their guns fixed on her trembling form. The soldiers stood in the rain, insisting that her life and theirs depended on the truth. He asked again if she had been bitten. She lay half submerged, trembling, and asked whether he'd spare her if she answered. He told her that her answer would decide his next action. From above, 2 soldiers approached her cautiously. He repeated the question. She shouted that it was just a cut. Another soldier was ordered to check it. After a tense look, he confirmed there were no bite marks. Relief passed briefly through the group. She lowered her head, quietly sniffling as the rain fell around the temporary camp. Later, she sat inside the medical tent, still shaken, wondering how easily she could have been mistaken for a zombie. A soldier entered, asking about her wound. He expressed relief she wasn't bitten, adding that if she had been, their orders were clear. She stated plainly that he would have shot her. He didn't deny it. The soldier then explained their situation. Too many had claimed they weren't infected, only to turn later. He reminded her that by regulation, she was still under observation. She questioned what that meant. He clarified that they couldn't be entirely sure whether she would turn. She sighed, understanding. He warned her to keep talking. Silence might make him think otherwise. When she asked what she was expected to say, he replied that he needed strong proof she wasn't bitten. If that was difficult, he'd ask the questions. He began by asking whether she had stayed at the purification plant the entire time. She admitted she had. He found it strange, since their sweep found no survivors. She claimed she'd been locked inside the basement cafeteria fridge, unconscious. He asked who killed the biters inside the plant. She answered that it was a stranger she'd never seen before. She recalled zombies appearing as soon as the man arrived. They fought violently, and when she regained consciousness, she was already inside the freezer. He studies the shaken woman in front of him, her story lingering in the air like something too strange to swallow. One man wiping out an entire swarm. He mutters that it's hard to believe, fingers tightening beneath his chin as he watches her clutch her jacket with trembling hands. She snaps back that plenty of unbelievable things have happened already, and he lets out a short exhale, conceding the point. He straightens, brushing off his uniform as he tells her he'll arrange for the morning chopper to drop her at the civilian shelter. The word alone makes her stiffen. She asks what it is, and he calmly explains it's a makeshift refuge cobbled together for survivors. She steps forward, desperation creeping into her voice, asking if she can make a single call, just one. Her family must be out of their minds with worry. He shakes his head, saying communication lines across Seoul are barely functioning. Even their own calls rarely go through. The realization hits her like a blow. She asks if the whole city is truly in this state, panic rising as she thinks of her parents. He tells her to keep faith, they all have to. Even he hasn't heard from his own family. A sudden alarm cuts him off. It reports, zombies approaching from the Olympic Expressway. The message repeats, louder, drowning out her frightened questioning. Another shout follows, this one worse. It's a magnitude 4 horde. She stares, confused, and he answers flatly. 4 digits, thousands of them. And that isn't even the worst of it. Magnitude 7 hordes, millions, are already roaming Seoul. As for the lower groups, there are too many to count. Her voice trembles as she repeats the number, struggling to grasp it. Millions of people turning in just days. The soldier doesn't soften it. He just watches her face pale, the weight of the truth sinking deep. He warned her not to step outside the barracks, stating plainly that anyone without a uniform would be mistaken for a zombie and shot. She nodded once. He added that they should both hope to survive the night. Outside, the city burned. A massive horde surged forward, screaming as they flooded the streets. Gunfire tore through the air while soldiers held the line, rattling off short bursts at anything that moved. Shells scattered across the wet ground as the barricades shook under the pressure. The zombies rushed the formation in waves. Commands cut through the noise, ordering the troops to keep firing and aim for the head. Bodies dropped, piled, and slid across the soaked pavement, only for more undead to trample over them. The soldiers' rifles overheated under non-stop fire. A brief order signaled a halt, and one fist lifted to command ceasefire. Slowly, the gunshot echoes faded. The situation, for the moment, was declared contained. What remained on the road were torn bodies, mangled limbs and rivers of blood, evidence of a fight that had barely been won. She backed away, unsteady on her injured leg. Her breath caught as she covered her mouth, eyes fixed on the carnage ahead. Bodies were scattered across the road, blood pooling beneath them. She trembled beside the soldier who glanced her way. Her stomach lurched, and she suddenly started vomiting. The soldier asked if she was all right. She wiped her face, struggling to steady herself. The man spoke calmly, explaining that the fear was natural, that she was worried about her loved ones. He told her to set her tears aside, saying she would be leaving soon, unlike him and his men who would remain in the agony for days. She asked if they truly had to fight like this again with so few soldiers. He admitted he was supposed to have 120 under his command, but most had turned into the creatures outside. Since the reserves had been called, the protocols still bound them, even if outdated. She questioned why he didn't take his men into the purification plant. He said it wasn't his decision. His orders were to secure the road, build a barricade, and hold their position, which meant they couldn't hide inside the plant. When she asked who gave such an order, he answered that it came from people far above his rank. She insisted the order made no sense. He stated that they followed it because they were soldiers. She tried to argue further, but he was more focused on whether they would allow her onto the helicopter now arriving above them. He told her to forget everything she witnessed once she reached the shelter, but if she couldn't, she could at least remember his men in her thoughts. She lowered her head, admitting she didn't know what she had been talking about. Dawn broke across the sky as helicopter touched down. Another soldier approached, surprised to see a survivor. He remarked on her luck. Soldier questioned her wound, and the lieutenant reported it as a minor cut, not a bite. The senior officer stated that protocol applied regardless, and she would have to comply for 20 minutes. Senior officer ordered to continue the procedure. Her mask clinked softly as he adjusted it, his voice steady behind the metal grid. He reminded her that everyone followed orders, nothing more. He told her on the first day a civilian who had turned mid-flight, and how that helicopter had gone down afterward, almost casually. He admitted he was surprised they were letting her board now, noting the major had already compromised enough for her sake. He advised her to willingly give up her rights for the moment. The helicopter lifted, its rotors beating against the air as it pulled away. The machine cut across the burning skyline, slipping over the river and into the ruined cityscape. Inside, another pair of soldiers watched it depart. One pointed out the classification, Mag 6, and the other admitted it unsettled him. From above, clusters of the infected circled tightly below. One soldier questioned whether they truly lacked intelligence. The other asked why it mattered. The observation continued. Their constant looping pattern looked deliberate, as if drawn by some unseen purpose. Another soldier dismissed the idea. In his view, they were just prolonging their own starvation, but the sight triggered something in her. A memory sharpened behind her eyes. She saw again the lecture hall from before the outbreak. The instructor explained how cultures of bacteria gathered around a central mass, labeled the mother, expanding outward in all directions while rotating in circular motion. He asked the class for their interpretation. She raised her hand. "Go ahead, Ms. Lim," he said. She called it motility meant for propagation. Back in the helicopter, her eyes widened as the truth snapped together like a trap. Below them, the city spun in slow, ominous ring. On a distant rooftop, 3 survivors waited, watching the horizon with guarded tension. Hunger had been manageable, but water was now a looming threat. One of the boys muttered in frustration while another assessed the empty supplies with growing concern. They gathered around the cooler, realizing they'd nearly exhausted their last resource. The taller one sighed, lifting a half-filled bottle and stating they were low on water. Another tried to calculate how long they could endure, admitting that thirst would be their real downfall. Their leader finally stood, cutting through the complaints. He told them to stop sulking and reach for their makeshift weapons. They had no choice but to head downtown and scavenge food and water. The others hesitated. The word downtown alone made them freeze. One asked for a plan. Something, anything. The leader shrugged off the idea. They were starving, time was gone, and the shops below still held supplies. That was enough. If they crossed paths with a zombie or two, he said, they'd deal with it by force. He tightened his grip on his bag, offering that as the only plan they needed. One of the boys let out a shaky laugh, trying to mask his nerves as they prepared to move. He steadied his breath, forcing the excitement down as he spoke. He reminded the others that luck had carried them this far, but it wouldn't hold forever. Aside from the strong one among them, the rest were weak compared to the infected and hopelessly outnumbered, which meant every step needed careful thought. He pushed his glasses up and spelled it out. Rushing in blind would only get them killed. Leader, or say the taller guy, nodded, though impatience tugged at his expression. He understood the caution, but he wasn't eager to rot inside a room waiting for death to arrive. He challenged the idea of staying put, arms crossed, jaw set. The smaller one clarified that he wasn't asking for hesitation, only strategy. Maybe they could find a vantage point to scout from or even prepare traps before moving through the streets. The suggestion instantly lit up the mood. One of the boys burst out laughing, saying it sounded exactly like a MOBA game, placing wards, setting ambushes, all that stuff. The other immediately denied being the team's dead weight. only to be reminded that he and another teammate had always fought for last place. The bickering fizzled when hunger clawed through their leader's stomach. He couldn't fight like this, and waiting any longer would only make things worse. So, before they starved, he decided they'd try the cautious plan instead. Another guy glanced at the strategist, Yubin, acknowledging that the kid had always been good at every role, so maybe his idea was worth trying. The group's mood eased a little, even if someone still insisted he was the better player. With a reluctant sigh, Yubin brushed off the argument and returned to the task at hand. The leader, whose name is Sheriff, asked if he already had spots in mind for traps. Yubin only grinned. Soon after, they spread across the school grounds, pulling wire and setting up makeshift snares. From one side of the fence, someone called for Samshik to tighten the line, and a moment later the trap stretched neatly into place. Taut, clean, ready, Yubin moved along the trap line, checking the tension in the wires, deciding it was enough and shifting to the next step. He mapped out where fallen biters would land, marking the spot where their heads should end up. He traced that point on the grass, planning the placement of the finishing pipes. Sheriff approached with a pipe slung over his shoulder, and Yubin directed him to hammer them in along the line. Sheriff agreed without complaint. The clang of metal rang out sharply, louder than expected. Yubin hoped the noise hadn't attracted any biters nearby, urging them to finish and move. Looking over the setup, he judged the traps strong enough to stop a few zombies. Samshik raised a concern about someone accidentally running into the thin wires, but Yubin dismissed the idea, insisting no one else was around. Sheriff wasn't convinced, noting that accidents could still happen. Samshik gave a subtle nod, and Yubin admitted the point was fair. Irritated, Yubin suggested adding a sign, something noticeable. He scanned the area, spotting a soda can, and strung it up on the wire as a simple warning marker. The can swayed in the wind, rattling lightly. Samshik checked the result, satisfied it was enough to ease worry. He agreed, saying it looked perfect. Yubin declared the traps complete. It was time to scout. Samshik checked the time at Yubin's question, glancing at his watch before answering. 6:20. Yubin evaluated the situation as a bit late, but with daylight remaining and no zombies in sight, he judged the conditions acceptable for scouting. They agreed to limit themselves to checking the area only. Their objectives were to estimate the monster population and see if any survivors remained. Everything else could wait. Yubin steadied himself and prepared to move. They crossed a bridge where insects buzzed over the water, then continued through the quiet zone. Sheriff felt uneasy at the silence, and Samshik expected at least some bodies. Yubin kept them cautious, reminding them that unseen zombies were not the same as none. A sudden screech nearby made them tense, followed by growls from the shadows. Sheriff kept calm and told them not to be intimidated, noting that he could handle 5 zombies alone. If more than 7 appeared, he instructed them to abandon everything and run. As they advanced further, Shamsik stated that a single hit wouldn't drop zombies like people. Their heads had to be smashed, and handling 5 wouldn't be easy. Sheriff reconsidered, uncertain if he could manage even 4. Another pointed out he'd be fine with backup anyway. Yubin reminded him not to push their luck. Hunger was still better than dying. He relented, mentioning he was running on fumes. His stomach growled loudly as he complained that if he weren't starving, he could take down 5 without issue. 2 of them spotted a vending machine. The group rushed over, relieved at the sight. One of them admired the cans inside as if reunited with treasure, only to realize none of them had change. Sheriff explained the machine had no power and that they didn't need money to access what was inside. When asked what he meant, he ordered them to step back. He'd get the cans right away. He dashed forward and slammed into the machine with a heavy strike. Metal buckled, glass rattled, and the whole unit toppled over in a violent crash. Another impact followed as it tumbled across the platform. The noise rolled through the empty station. He watched it fall, and Yubin admitted the hit might have been too loud, louder than their earlier hammering. Sheriff shouted that it scared him more than the silence ever had, wondering if vending machines were normally this loud when broken. Sheriff, holding his hammer, was told by Shamshik to go easy on the swings. The group watched as the machine stubbornly refused to yield after all the hits. Shamshik called out that it still wasn't working, but Yubin snapped back that such a flimsy effort was never going to cut it. He noted it would be a problem if they ended up with nothing to drink. With traps already set, he reasoned it might be smarter to just bust the machine open and retreat before any zombies appeared. Sheriff grinned at the suggestion, tightening his grip on the tool. He warned them not to mind if he took another swing. Then he drove the sledgehammer down with all his strength. A follow-up blow smashed through entirely with a heavy boom, the metal frame bending and dust spilling out. That was enough to finally break it open. The 3 of them cheered together, relieved the stubborn machine had given in at last. They cracked open cans, soda, judging by the hiss, and chugged them down until the last drops. The taste revived them instantly. One of them laughed that it hit the spot, while the others agreed they felt alive again. They began stuffing drinks into a bag, filling it until it could take no more. Sheriff suggested ditching the tools, saying there were plenty back at base and drinks were more important. They agreed, but Yubin reminded them they weren't here for hauling, they were scouting ahead. Shamshik blinked, admitting he'd forgotten. Yubin pointed toward the direction of the city, wondering aloud if heading straight into downtown wasn't too risky. One of them agrees with the concern raised. Yubin suggests climbing up first to see what lies ahead. Another points out the large amount of blood nearby. A distant rumbling echoes around the building as they look up at the upper floors. One of them asks whether this is really a good idea. They move closer and notice a clear blood trail leading inside the building. It appears that someone who was bitten ran in that direction. Shamshik reasons that the person likely turned into a zombie shortly after. Yubin admits uncertainty about what is inside, but says it would be safer to prepare for additional threats coming from behind. A can is opened and dropped deliberately to the floor so that any movement can be heard. The others acknowledge the plan and watch the entrance. Inside, the corridor is dark, with blood smeared along the walls. Sheriff remarks that the power must be out since there is no light. He asks Shamshik to borrow a lighter, and it is handed over. The lighter is ignited, providing a small flame. They confirm that the blood trail continues further in, and question whether whatever caused it went inside. Shamshik steps forward to check, leaning in carefully. He listens closely and then reports that he can hear a zombie inside. Yubin notes that there are other paths leading up to the rooftop. He acknowledges that the biter's noise could attract others and complicate things. Sheriff says they should keep it simple and move in. Yubin nods and says he is ready. They position themselves around the door as the countdown begins, ending on 1. The door swings open, and the room inside is empty. They pause, checking the space, and confirm there is nothing there. A sound scrapes from deeper inside, coming from the last room. One of them peers out and notes the noise is not from the hallway, suggesting the bitten person may have locked themselves inside after being injured. A harsh screech echoes down the corridor, and Sheriff says there may be more than one and that they need to be careful. He suddenly breaks into a run, saying he will deal with it quickly. Yubin tries to stop him, warning that rushing in is a bad idea. A zombie lunges out. He yanks the sledgehammer free, slams the biter down and smashes its head into the floor. Others rush forward, calling out to him and asking if he is all right, while he tells them to stay back. The zombie lunges. Its blood-smeared face fills the doorway as it crashes out. Sheriff swings the sledgehammer downward, crushing zombie against the floor. Blood spreads beneath it as the hammerhead embeds deep. He pulls the weapon free and straightens, breathing heavily. They moves ahead and approaches another door marked by handprints. He pushes it open carefully. The door bursts inward. Inside the room, 2 infected wearing school uniforms stagger into view. One turns sharply. Sheriff rushes in and raises the sledgehammer. He brings it down hard, striking one infected. The second charges from the side. Another shout comes from behind, warning him not to hesitate over appearances. Sheriff tightens his grip on the weapon, but Yubin instantly lunges forward and struck it down hard. The body collapses. Breathing heavily, he steadies himself. Sheriff reminds him that they are just zombies. He acknowledges it. A loud noise from outside draws their attention. They look out over the city and remark on the chaos below. Roads are clogged, making escape difficult. It is pointed out that alleys and side passages may be safer. They decide to head back to their base for now. As they walk, Yubin notes they cannot keep running without finding food and supplies. The situation is called miserable. Shamshik says he has been thinking about how to deal with these things. They agree that surviving until the end is the goal. Elsewhere, soldiers patrol the camp. From higher officer, it is told that a woman with visible bite marks and decides she must be quarantined immediately. Orders are given to isolate her and request additional medical staff. She is escorted away without resistance. The woman named Lim is locked inside a barred room. Sitting on the floor, she struggles to understand why she is being treated like this. She remembers what that officer said. He clearly said that quarantine is standard procedure for everyone with visible wounds, and that it is something all of them must go through. He tells her not to take it personally. Left alone, she hugs her knees and complains that the confinement is driving her mad. When another woman speaks, Lim startles. The woman mentions that her stay is short and that time passes quickly here. As the woman turns to leave, Lim notices she is barefoot and points out that she is wearing only one shoe. She observes that her pinky toe looks injured, likely run over by a car. She reacts sharply, accusing her of being insensitive, then stops and asks her to wait. Lim studies her face and asks if she appears on television often. The woman lifts her cap slightly and confirms it. She immediately brightens, introducing herself as Tara of the Pink Punch with confidence and a smile, declaring herself full of energy and suggesting they will get along well as quarantine partners. Lim asks how long Tara has been here. The answer given is 48 hours. It is mentioned that the guards are strict about the rules, followed by a trailing comment. Tara mentions that the crackers are better than expected, so it has not been completely miserable. Lim thanks Tara for the warning. She thinks that she had assumed Tara was only pretty, but now sees that she is outgoing as well. She hesitates, then asks what exactly happened to the injured toe. Tara explains that it was a hit and run, caused by someone driving a red sports car who ran over it and drove away. She adds that the driver must have felt something like a bump, but did not stop. Tara's asked if she had it checked yet. She says that with how things are, she will just have to get used to it. She adds that dancing might feel awkward, but but she can still sing, and as long as she can sing as a singer, she hopes it will be enough. Lim admits that she feels ashamed after talking to her. She says she has been so frustrated by the situation that she even began to resent the people who saved her. Tara recalls that the soldiers told her things would return to normal before long. She reaches her hand through the bars and says she knows it will be hard, but they just need to hold on until that day comes. Lim realizes that Tara had been hiding this strength all along. She grabs Tara's hand. Lim tells Tara that they can do it together. Tara says she is really glad Lim is here. Whereas, Shamshik shout up, asking Rookie what he is waiting for and telling him to drop the rope already. Sheriff wonders what has gotten into him. Then he suggests he might be taking care of something and that they should wait. Shamshik guesses he may have fallen and been taken by zombies, but Sheriff dismisses that, saying he is too much of a wimp to even look down on his own. Yuban thinks that can only mean one thing. At that moment, a can is pulled out and thrown upward. The can flies through the air and hits with a loud clang. Two of them shout angrily, asking why he threw that up there and saying it could have exploded. One of them snaps at the other. They look up as something drops from above. Otha student, or say Rookie, peeks over the edge and comments that it looks like they managed to get some drinks after all. Sheriff mutters that he is going to kill him. Yuban tells him to calm down. Shamshik says that if it were not for Rookie, they would not have been able to move around so freely. Rookie says any day now would be nice. He adds that he is just checking whether they brought any zombie friends along. Sheriff shouts back that if they had, Rookie would not have dropped the rope. The reply comes back bluntly, saying obviously. Rookie says he does not see any of them around. He pulls the rope back up and Sheriff says they should put together a ladder or something for tomorrow. He remarks that trusting Rookie is going to come back to bite them. When they backed upward, Rookie asks what took so long and says he thought the other three had left him behind like a bunch of weasels. Sheriff sarcastically says that is coming from the one who took his sweet time lowering the rope. The reply tells him not to make assumptions and asks for more drinks. Sheriff stays silent. He puffs his cheeks in irritation and says there is nothing left for him. Rookie shouts back that the bag was clearly loaded with cans and bottles. He answers that none of them are for Rookie and laughs, saying Rookie can starve for all he cares. Rookie calls them cheapskates. Rookie says it is not funny anymore. He tells that he will be faster with the rope next time. Shamshik calls him insufferable. Rookie, whose name is Gali, mutters a quiet thanks. Yuban glances aside and says they should get rid of them tomorrow. A dead zombie is shown on the ground nearby. Later, outside under a bright sky, Gali asks if the ladder will really hold. Sheriff answers that it can support construction equipment, and tells Gali to stop squirming and come down. Gali complains about having to move things and is told that complaining will not save him. Gali climbs down while Sheriff tells him he needs to pull his weight if he is staying with them. The group drags zombie corpses away. Shamshik groans as it happens. Yuban remarks that it is gross but necessary, because if they do not do it, they will be stuck next to a pile of rotting corpses. Shamshik tells Gali to imagine that if he dies, he will end up just like the bodies they are dragging, basically burying himself. Gali replies that he is not going to die no matter what. Shamshik says everyone dies in the end, and the only question is when and where. He keeps dragging the corpse while breathing heavily. Nearby, Sheriff offers to help, but the response is that he should save his strength until they go scouting again, since he is their biggest asset in a fight. He suggests sending him and Gali to the back hills to set traps between the trees, adding that zombies might come from that direction. The answer is simple agreement. They decide to move out. Gali agrees and hurries off, thinking it is better to be somewhere without zombies. The others stay behind to finish the job. Later, they note that the last body has been moved and say they just need to burn the pile. Shamshik comments that the bodies were extremely heavy. Yuban adds that moving them was tough because of their weight, but the harder part is knowing they are the ones who made this pile of corpses, wishing the bodies looked less human even after transforming. Fuel is thrown onto the pile, and the fire catches. Shamshik calls out to Yuban. Yuban answers back when called. He says that the ground below where they rested was actually pretty spotless. He explains that there is no blood anymore because they split their heads open, guessing that their blood dried up or something when they turned. He looks aside, then lowers his head, saying that even if they look like humans on the outside, they are something entirely different now. He tells himself not to dwell on it. Shamshik adds honestly that even knowing they are zombies, he does not think he can stomach doing this a second time. Yuban replies that he understands. Later, Sheriff asks Gali if his phone is charged yet. Gali checks and says it is charged quite a bit. He is immediately told to find a signal already. Gali snaps back that he is already on it. Suddenly, Gali shouts that he got a bar. The others rush over, telling him to let them see. They bump into each other as they crowd around, and Yuban yells to turn the news on. Gali complains and asks them to give him some breathing space. He taps the screen. A news broadcast appears, stating that in a promising development, authorities are actively collaborating with the military and law enforcement to address the crisis. The report adds that the virus of unknown origin is spreading across the nation, but reports indicate marked advancement in containing it. Experts on the news cautiously predict that the situation will reach a conclusion within the next week. One of the group reacts, saying that the reporter claimed they only need to hold out for a week. Gali says that now it finally makes some sense. Sheriff asks what is wrong, and the reply is to look at the chat. The chat messages scroll, mocking the news, questioning Seoul's situation and arguing that the capital would not have been abandoned unless something went wrong. A reply from someone named Hong-soo Kim appears, saying the explanation is simple. The words follow clearly. Seoul has gone under. Golly stiffens as he reads. Outside, his phone buzzes again. The group steps out into the open. Sheriff asks what the others think about the earlier chat room discussion. Another sums it up as people claiming the news is fake. Yubin thinks quietly and says the report has some credibility. He explains that if things had really improved, the news would have shown footage of Seoul, or at least parts of Gyeonggi province to prove those areas were secure. Sheriff still does not understand why they would spread such claims and says the report should have said something more helpful, like telling people to aim for the heads of zombies. Shamshik then asks what time it is, calling out to Sheriff. Sheriff asks why, and Shamshik tells him to just say it. Sheriff answers that it is 2:34. He adds that he hopes the zombie apocalypse did not ruin Shamshik's plans with a girl. Shamshik laughs and asks how he knows. He admits he was thinking of going out for a drink with a pretty girl and jokes about having a third wheel. Sheriff then mutters that he was dumb for asking. Shamshik identifies one of the zombies as Youngsuk, then points out another as Jihye. Shamshik asks him to tell the exact time again. He pushes him to answer quickly. Sheriff snaps back that it is 2:41. Shamshik quietly notes that Mi-yeon has turned 2. Shamshik says he knew he should have gone partying with them when he was invited. Sheriff reacts in disbelief and asks if Shamshik has been spying on all his exes. Shamshik adds that the bombshell lady from the orange bar is down there too. Sheriff reacts in shock and asks if he is serious. He points out that Shamshik went out with her as well. Shamshik avoids the question and again asks for the time. Sheriff finally answers that it is 3:23. Shamshik backtracks and says they should just say it was 21. He starts counting names under his breath, including Youngsuk and Mi-yeon, then mentions the orange bar lady and Haegyong. Sheriff gives up and tells them to forget it. He remarks that Shamshik has found some new weird thing to obsess over. He then tells Yubin that they should give up on downtown and maybe try their luck on the road that hugs the back hills. He adds that they might get lucky and run into a delivery truck. Yubin points out that zombies could be hiding behind every vehicle. He then suggests following the railway tracks instead. Sheriff says he is not sure they will find any places for food along the tracks, and that going too far would mean spending a night out there. Shamshik calls out to the group. He turns back with a slight smile and says he thinks he found a way to get some food. He places a small object on the ground and tells them to pretend it is Haegyong. The others nod and agree. He explains that Haegyong moves independently and keeps going back and forth around the area. He adds that there are 7 zombies like her. He continues that there are also 5 roaming packs of zombies, each with dozens or more biters, and that lone wanderers sometimes join those groups. Yubin asks how he figured that out. Shamshik explains that Youngsuk's group passed by first, then after 4 other groups followed in succession, her group appeared again. He adds that it takes about 9 minutes for a group to arrive after Youngsuk's group, followed by Mi-yeon's group 11 minutes later. Then, about 20 minutes after that, the orange bar ladies pack shows up, and 12 minutes after that comes the 4th group. Yubin remarks that they can scavenge the downtown area during the longest gap, which falls between Mi-yeon's group and the orange bar ladies group. Sheriff asks if Shamshik said there are 7 stray zombies. He cracks his knuckles and says that 20 minutes is more than enough time to deal with them. Shamshik reminds him not to forget the time it takes to move through the underground tunnels. He adds that they cannot move until the last zombie disappears completely from sight, so it will not be easy. Yubin says that if they have to delay further, they should first verify whether his calculations are correct. He checks the time and says it is 4:34 at the moment. He states that Youngsuk's group should appear in 5 minutes. Below, zombies begin to emerge near the Newtown diner. Sheriff reacts that Shamshik was right. Yubin says the next pack should approach in 9 minutes. Zombies move through the streets. Yubin notes that there is a slight margin of error for each group, but says they can still trust his theory. Sheriff acknowledges it and praise Shamshik, saying his connections paid off. Yubin says they should make their move at 5:58 to sync with the orange bar. He clicks his watch and adds that until then, they should plan how to deal with the remaining zombies. A rush of wind passes overhead. The watch beeps, showing 5:58. Sheriff says it is time to split open some zombie skulls. He grips his weapon, while another hopes there will be good food waiting for them. A buzzing sound comes from the underground entrance as they move inside. The 3 head down the stairs, weapons in hand. Time ticks forward on the watch to 6:05. Yubin looks ahead and says they are here. Zombies rush into view from the passage. One zombie at the front reacts as it notices them. Sheriff swings his weapon down hard. The blow lands with a crushing sound, and he calls out that one is down. Another zombie lunges forward with a screech. Sheriff steps in and strikes again, smashing it apart, and shouts that makes 2. A zombie charges forward with a low growl. Sheriff swings again, and the blow lands hard. Sheriff slips on the blood-slick ground, skidding as another zombie lunges. Yubin raises his weapon and brings it down with force. With that, 3 zombies are down. Another zombie rushes in. Shamshik shouts that he has this one and moves to intercept. Shamshik freezes for a moment, Confused, Yubin notices and rushes in. He collides with the zombie and tackles it aside, hitting the ground hard. The zombie shrieks as Yubin struggles, then drives his weapon into it at close range. The body collapses. A count of 4 is called. Sheriff and Yubin look over and ask if Shamshik is okay. Another zombie lunges toward Yubin. Shamshik glares down and says that the zombie can try to bite him, but not his friends. Shamshik and Yubin stand over the body, breathing hard. Shamshik asks if it got Yubin. Yubin answers that he does not think so, but he is not completely sure. Shamshik looks him over and says, "Yubin seems fine." Yubin laughs weakly and admits he thought he was done for this time. Shamshik scratches his head and says he messed up badly. Yubin asks what he means. Shamshik answers that Yubin saved his life. Yubin steps closer and tells Shamshik that he was amazing. He taps Shamshik lightly in approval. Nearby, Sheriff fights off the remaining zombies alone, striking them down one after another. Yubin comments that Sheriff can handle the rest. Sheriff wipes himself off and asks if that was all of them. The group gathers and confirms they got all 7. Sheriff asks for the time. Yubin answers that it is 6:09. Sheriff notes they finished 5 minutes faster than planned. Sheriff tells them to clean the place quickly and leave. He urges them to hurry and grab everything. Inside the store, hands rush through the shelves, stuffing food and supplies into bags. Someone shouts that 4 minutes have already passed as they continue moving fast. Survivors appear at the windows and balconies above, shouting down. They ask if the group is there to rescue them, calling out that the rescue team has arrived. More voices cry out, asking to be saved first, begging for help, water, and a way out. Sheriff looks up at them, realizing they are all survivors. He says it looks like there is a big misunderstanding, and that the people think they are rescue workers. He asks what they should do. Yubin answers that they have no choice but to leave for now, warning that there are only 5 minutes until the next pack shows up. Sheriff tells the people above that they are not the rescue team and asks them to stay put and stay safe. The survivors react in shock, asking if the group is leaving and realizing they are not there to rescue them. One of them shouts that they cannot just leave like that as the group turns away to move on. People above shout down, asking the group to give them something to eat at least. The group apologizes as they keep moving. Someone notices that the streets are clear of zombies. Others quickly agree that the zombies are gone and suggest following the group. A cry goes up that they need food first. The crowd surges forward. People push and shout for others to get out of the way, claiming first dibs and insisting they know of a safe place. They rush ahead, telling everyone to hurry and grab food first. Voices argue over who arrived first, ordering others to step aside. Shamshik looks around and wonders how there are so many people in the neighborhood. Yubin concludes that everyone must have been hiding in nearby buildings because of the chaos in the streets. Sheriff curses under his breath, realizing the zombies will arrive any moment. Shamshik yells for everyone to get back into the buildings, warning that biters are approaching and that people cannot stay outside. The crowd ignores him, arguing and fighting over food. Someone shouts to get in line. Another snaps back that there is no line. Shamshik mutters that this is going to turn into a disaster. A hand grabs onto a bag as a woman kneels in front of Shamshik and begs him to let her have the food. She says her child has not eaten for days and pleads desperately. Shamshik freezes, staring at her face as he struggles to decide. Behind them, a loud crash echoes from the direction of the new town diner. Shamshik turns sharply toward the sound as his expression tightens. People complain about the order messing. Looking all of this, Shamshik is shocked. The woman grabs his bag and runs from there. Shamshik didn't even try to stop her. One person says that he knows a place having big mart and people agree to go there. Sheriff tries to stop them but fails. He asks what time is it and Yubin tells him it's 17 past 6. He realizes that barely a minute is left, and at this rate they are all going to die. Sheriff says to ditch those people and go away from here. Shamshik tries to respond. Sheriff tells him that he doesn't want to hear this as those guys can be the reason of them get killed. All of them run and suddenly someone grabs Shamshik's hand. A man tells that he needed their help. Sheriff slams him off, saying they are not here to rescue someone. The man grabs Shamshik and confirms that all of these three know something that he doesn't know. Sheriff kicks him off. The man again tries, and Sheriff punches him so hard, the man is thrown backward and falls on the ground. Sheriff tells that he didn't mean to punch that hard. A girl appears and asks if the man is okay. People suddenly cry out in alarm, as someone shouts that zombies are here, and that they have returned. Others react in disbelief, questioning whether the zombies are really back and realizing they were not gone after all. Screams echo down the street as people freeze for a moment. Then panic spreads. Someone yells to run, warning that the zombies are back, as people begin fleeing in all directions. A person is attacked, screaming in pain while others shout in terror. Sheriff curses as the chaos grows, and urges everyone to leave immediately. The girl desperately begs the man to wake up, but there is no response. Sheriff looks up in frustration, cursing under his breath as the situation worsens. Then he grabs that man on his shoulder. Yubin says it will not be possible to carry him back to their hideout, so they will have to hold out where they are. She points the direction, and thanks them, saying it is back that way. A foot stomps down. Shamshik says they can skip the small talk for later. He immediately shouts for everyone to run. The group starts running together as a loud roar erupts behind them. Ani of them asks if they are there yet, and she answers that they are almost there and tells them to turn into the alley. One yells for everyone to move faster as they rush inside. Inside, the group stops, breathing hard. Sheriff says that for a moment, he thought they were done for. Yubin says not to ask questions because they feel like they are about to throw up. He impatiently asks what she is waiting for and tells her to open the door. The door handle clicks. She realizes and tells that they have been locked out from the inside. Shamskik reacts in shock as screams and screeching echo from outside. He shouts that they are funneling this way. He says they think the zombies saw them enter the alley as a loud roar echoes behind. Yubin breathes hard, realizing they are being chased, while the others tense up. Shamshik yells for the door to be opened. A frightened voice from inside tells them to go somewhere else because they do not want any trouble. Shamshik warns that the zombies are almost there. Sheriff clenches his jaw and tells the others to watch their friend for a minute. From inside, someone begs them to leave them alone. Sheriff snaps back in anger and charges forward, smashing into the door as a loud explosion-like impact fills the hallway. Sheriff shouts that the doorknob is next, making the people inside the door flinch. The people inside panic and say that he has made his point and that they will open the door. The door creaks open, and Sheriff at the door says it is open. As the door opens wider, something suddenly crashes inside, sending bodies and objects flying. Sheriff at the door freezes in shock as figures rush in. Shamshik moves fast and strikes the incoming attackers, smashing them back. Sheriff shouts that he is borrowing Yubin's spanner, and Yubin asks why he is not using the sledgehammer. He says he is afraid of hitting Shamshik if he uses it there. They run forward together as more enemies tumble and crash behind them. Yubin yells that now is the chance and orders everyone to run. While running, they say urgently to close the door immediately. Yubin yells that they are on it. A bloodied hand slips on the doorknob, and the knob twists. Someone cries out in shock, and Sheriff rushes forward, shouting to keep a hand on the knob. The door is crushed inward as force slams against it, and Sheriff pulls it back, urgently shouting to close it. A loud boom follows, and one of them says they seriously thought that was the end. As the noise settles, Sheriff asks the two inside if they are okay. She nervously replies that they are fine and thank them again, apologizing. Shamshik tells her she does not need to apologize, and Yubin says the one who should be apologizing is someone else. Sheriff argue back that it is not fair because they were in a pinch. One of the people inside asks if they are not planning to stay long and explains that they opened the door but do not have much food left. Sheriff starts to say that they are not going to touch their supplies, then hesitates. He exhales and asks if they can at least be allowed to breathe in peace for a moment. He scratches his arm and turns, asking if it would still bother him too much. The view shifts to the city at night. The knocked man lies down holding his head, blinking repeatedly and complaining that his head hurts, whereas Sheriff comments that it must be hot wearing a mask and suggests taking it off. The injured man flinches, suddenly snapping in anger and shouting insults threatening violence. He lunges forward and grabs Sheriff by the collar. The masked girl panics, raises her hands, and hurriedly tells him to stop, saying he misunderstood, and that this man only meant food, not clothes. The man freezes, confused, repeating the word food. Sheriff shows a packaged snack from his hand. The man calms down, mutters an apology, and says the world has gone to hell and he lost control. Sheriff slumps down, admitting he was the one who hit first and suggesting they call it even. The man then comments that Sheriff is good with his fists and asks what family he works for. When Sheriff looks confused, he clarifies that he is asking who he works for. The answer comes that they work for Daeyoung labor firm. The man reacts silently as Shamshik behind rustles near the window. Shamshik zips up a jacket and says they all worked under project coordinator Guknam Cho, smiling faintly as the conversation continues. He says the money was rather good. The man thinks it is his first time hearing about the Dahong group in Seoul, and notes that there are the Manbae and Yongseon clans. He wonders if there are others he did not know about. He then says he has a favor to ask, if they do not mind. Sheriff asks what kind of favor it is. The man reassures him that it is nothing too crazy and explains that his car is about 2 blocks away. He adds that he is hoping the boys can escort him and his little sister there. He promises to give them everything he has once they get there. He opens his wallet and says it is a pretty sweet deal. Sheriff responds that it really looks like the man has no clue at all. He says it does not matter how good or expensive the car is, and explains that the nearby roads are jammed, so there is no way through. The man panics and asks how Sheriff knows that, wondering if he saw it himself. Shamshik says they checked it out from the rooftop of the abandoned station. The man repeats that they passed through the closed-down station and asks if the nearby area is completely blocked. He then asks about the place they are staying at and whether it is safer than here. Sheriff says the man has a talent for not listening and adds that he already said it and will not repeat himself. He says it is the same everywhere. The man comments that it must be better than this place since all 3 of them traveled there by foot, and Sheriff mutters that it is like talking to a brick wall. Yubin calls Shamshik's name and tells him to take a break from lookout duty. Shamshik stands by the window and Yubin says it is probably hard to see anything at night anyway, as it is pitch dark outside. A loud impact echoes as something strikes below. Shamshik reports that over that way is the Orange Bar Ladies group, and closer is a new pack he has not seen before. He adds that the zombie numbers have gone up, but luckily for them there are only 5 from there to the tunnel. He continues that it looks like the group's moving pattern is about the same. Yubin reacts in surprise and asks if all of that can really be seen. Shamshik says maybe it is just better eyesight, then adds that he has 20 to 20 vision after all. Yubin comments that he is not sure they can rely on that eyesight. Outside, the city street is quiet except for a sharp chirping sound. Yubin tells that their pace might have quickened a bit, but the movement pattern remains the same. The question comes up about when they should make their move. Yubin says that when 5:17 rolls around, the zombies will pass through the front, and that it takes about 6 minutes for a full pass, so they should leave at 5:23. With 10 minutes until the next pack of zombies, they will have some leeway. Shamshik asks what happens if the biters from the stairs are still there. Sheriff responds that they were not seen during a peek last night, but if any remain they can be left to him. But the problem is, the ones on the streets, since beating them all down will not be possible, so they should splat only the ones that come too close. Yubin asks what to do with them. Sheriff tells that there is no way they can fight with the bags in hand, but it would not feel right to leave them behind. A man slides a bag forward and tells them he will give them that bag. He urges them to take it, then adds that they should leave them for real now. The door closes as the two on the other side are told to never return. Sheriff shouts that they are going and insists they are leaving. He crouches and rummages through supplies, explaining that they are leaving some things behind for the bag. He asks if the two are serious about tagging along. Both of them nod. The man explains that waiting around for a rescue while sucking his thumb is not his thing, so he has to do something. Sheriff responds is that this is respected, but there is more worry about his sister, and he is asked if she can handle a 2-kilometer run back to their base. She nods and says it should not be a problem since she has been exercising regularly. Sheriff grips a weapon and says that in that case, they should head out. A zombie growls outside the room. The door creaks open slightly, revealing Yubin watching through the gap. The door is forced open as the group rushes in. A heavy swing follows, knocking the zombie back. Another strike lands, and the blow crushes it against the wall. Sheriff shouts that it is done and tells everyone to run. The group dashes forward down the corridor. One of them warns that he saw one more by the entrance and tells them to be careful, and another answers that he hears him. A zombie charges toward them. Sheriff swings his weapon hard, sending the zombie flying back. The blow lands again, crushing it as blood splatters across the floor. They burst outside into the street, weapons raised. The man urgently calls out and points them in another direction. More zombies appear down the street as the group runs past, striking those that get too close. Sheriff pants that he keeps whiffing his swings, and Yubin says they will handle the ones he misses. A zombie is smashed aside as Yubin tells them to keep carrying their way through the street. Sheriff tells the others to stay right behind him and urges them to keep moving. Yubin thinks that the biters must not have heard the noise they are making, and that they might get through without much trouble. He suddenly notices a sound and wonders what it is. A clunk echoes, and Yubin reacts in confusion. Glass shatters as more zombies crashes down from above. More zombies begin falling from the surrounding buildings as the street erupts with noise. Sheriff looks up in shock and wonders what is going on, thinking it was not like this yesterday. Yubin realizes it must be people who hid in the buildings after getting bitten and curses them for causing trouble even after dying. Sheriff shouts that they cannot turn back now and tells everyone to push on as planned. Shamshik says he will help out in the front and orders Yubin to keep the other two alive in the back. Yubin shouts in alarm as more glass shatters nearby, and the man below looks up in fear. The man freezes in shock as a curse slips out. The girl urgently shouts a warning that something is above him. A heavy impact follows as a zombie slams down, striking him hard and knocking him off balance. He cries out in pain as he crashes to the ground. The zombie lands nearby with a harsh screech. The man scrambles backward in panic, letting out a frightened cry. He desperately calls for help as the zombie staggers toward him. Yubin rushes forward and shouts for him to get behind him. Yubin swings his weapon down hard, crushing into the zombie with brutal force. Blood sprays as the zombie's body jerks and collapses. Yubin grips his weapon, shaking, and realizes that if this continues it will get him killed at this rate. Anger flashes across his face as he curses the zombie. The girl kicks the zombie in mid and Yubin brings his weapon down again. The final blow lands, and the zombie slumps lifelessly to the ground. Yubin drops to one knee as the tension eases. She turns to Yubin and asks if he is alright while both of them catch their breath. Yubin answers that he is, thanks to her. The man suddenly bolts forward. Yubin turns in surprise and shouts for him to wait and warns him not to go that way. The man yells that his bag is there and that his phone is inside it. He runs while thinking that others would not say that if they knew who was in his contacts, and that he needs to secure it no matter what. Glass shatters above as more zombies break through windows. A heavy crash follows as bodies slam down onto the man. Yubin and the girl stare in shock as the man is caught beneath falling zombies. She screams for him while Yubin shouts in panic. One of them grabs her arm and stops her. Shamshik tells her no, and says that if they go back now they will all die. The man is bitten and cries out for help as zombies tear into him. More bodies crash down nearby. Sheriff fights on as the sounds of crushing blows and ripping flesh echo through the street. Yubin tells the girl to hurry or she will be dead meat. The group rush forward. A pair of zombies came behind them. Sheriff swings his weapon and tells them to head down. Sheriff kills the remaining zombies and urges everyone to hurry and tells them to get moving. After a while they reach near base. Sheriff tells that the footpath is on the other side. He says to jump over his hands. Yubin tells that he will go first and then catch them from other side. Yubin goes but falls to the ground. The girl came and asks if he is alright. On the other side, Sheriff comments that she was not lying when she told that she exercised daily, while Shamshik comments that Yubin is an idiot. Yubin asks them to move. As Shamshik says to wait a second, they need to bring the duffel bag too. They look toward the tunnel and realizes that they maybe got killed due to these drinks. They decide to come back later with better plans. The group reach the ground. They collapse onto the grass, breathing heavily, as it is said that they made it to safety. Sheriff groans that his head is spinning and asks Shamshik to toss him one of the chocolate bars, while Yubin complains that he can barely keep his stomach down. Sheriff snaps that if Yubin feels that bad, he should try swinging that hammer around. He adds that Yubin has no idea how hard it is. Nearby, the girl sits with her head lowered, quietly sniffling. Sheriff hesitates, then asks how she is holding up. He apologizes about her brother and the girl says that what happened was out of their hands. He continues that they cannot replace her real brother but they will protect her from here on, telling her not to blame herself and adding that no one will try anything sleazy, so she should not worry. Shamshik calls out to Sheriff, warning him not to make promises he cannot keep, and jokes that if he plans to get that close, he might want some mints first. Sheriff turns back sharply and tells him to cut it out, saying she will take it the wrong way, and asks why he would need mints right now. Shamshik replies that if the roles were reversed, he would not want his foul breath to be the first impression on someone he has a crush on. Sheriff stiffens and asks how he could possibly have a crush on someone he just met, telling him to cut the nonsense. Shamshik speaks up, saying he thought Sheriff absolutely loved Jenny, adding that he has heard that claim countless times and asking if it was all a lie. Sheriff says he is making no sense and demands to know why Jenny is being brought into this. Suddenly, the girl leaps up behind him. She pulls at her cap and admits that she thought the disguise would work, but he saw through it. She then says she should formally introduce herself. The girl introduces herself as Jenny from Pink Punch. Yubin and Sheriff stare in shock, and Sheriff stammers her name in disbelief. Yubin turns to Shamshik and asks how he figured it out, trembling as he speaks. Shamshik replies that it was obvious from the start, adding that the man who died was likely not her real brother. Yubin reacts in confusion and asks what he means. Jenny confirms it and explains that the man was the executive director of the agency she works with, saying that he treated them like real sisters since their trainee days. Sheriff hesitantly asks if Tara is with her too. Yubin abruptly smacks Sheriff, asking if he is serious. Jenny starts to speak and says that Tara was bitten while they were fleeing on the first day. She continues that Tara tried to help a child and ended up getting bitten. Jenny says she wanted to help her. She recalls the director telling her that Tara would not make it. At 10 o'clock 4 days ago, a tall building stands by the river under a clear sky. Inside a spacious apartment, the living room is quiet, with large windows and modern furniture. A poster of Jenny and Tara wearing matching jackets hangs on the wall. Jenny and Tara are asleep on a bed, facing away from each other, both snoring. A hand presses numbers on a keypad, and it beeps as the door opens. The door is pushed open forcefully as the man enters and shouts for Jenny and Tara to get up immediately. Jenny opens her eyes groggily and reacts in confusion. She sits up, rubbing her eyes, and complains about being woken up, asking what time it is. The man says that time does not matter, and orders them to get up and change their clothes, adding that they should wear masks and hats tightly so people will not notice them. He rummages through items while speaking. Tara asks what is wrong and says he is acting as if a war has broken out. The man repeats the word war in disbelief, then yells that they would prefer a war over what is happening now and warns that they are as good as dead if they do not reach the Han River within 30 minutes. Tara starts to ask what he means, then stops. The man sighs and says he will explain on the road, telling them to change quickly and be out in 5 minutes, as he will be at the door. As he walks away, a phone begins to ring. The man answers phone call and says it is him, confirming that they have 30 minutes and that it is more than enough time. Jenny and Tara look at him in confusion as he listens. He reacts in surprise and asks what that means, then argues that it cannot be 2 people because he already said they are a group of 3. He insists that Pink Punch is a duo and that they need him, telling the caller not to joke and to help him out. While he talks, Tara asks what she should wear and what shoes to put on. The man tells her to throw everything out and says he will buy a truckload of the same things later, promising she will be dressed in Verawang from head to toe and urging them to hurry. The other side suddenly asks if there are any bite victims. He answers none, then says that even if there were, they should ditch them and not worry about it. He warns them not to take off in the helicopter until he gets on, saying he is putting his faith in the caller. He agrees, thanks them again, and says he will call back once they start moving. After ending the call, he turns to see Jenny and Tara still moving slowly. Irritated, he shouts and asks if they could possibly dress any slower, then abruptly tells them to forget it and says they can change in the car because they need to go immediately. Jenny and Tara stare at him in shock as he yells that they have to go now and urgently calls their names, telling them to run. In the parking garage, Jenny notices blood and asks if there was a car accident. The man tells her to save the questions for later and orders them to get in already. As they run, he yells for Tara to hurry. Tara slips on the floor and cries out as her shoe skids away, and she reaches down toward the fallen item. She is crouched on the ground, breathing hard, while a small boy is also on the floor nearby, panting. Tara notices him and realizes he is a child, then asks if he is okay. The boy struggles to catch his breath and looks weak. From a distance, the man shouts at Tara that they were supposed to leave now, not yesterday, and urges her to hurry. Tara steps closer and points out that the boy looks sick. She asks if they can at least drop him off at a hospital, reminding the man that he said there is mayhem outside. The boy wobbles as he stands. The man snaps angrily that she is testing his patience and yells that they have no time for that. Tara insists it will be on the way and questions why that is so hard. The man cuts her off, saying he does not want to hear another word. Suddenly, the boy lets out a sharp cry as he lunges forward. The boy's face twists as he screeches, and Tara turns in shock just as he bites down on her foot. She screams in pain. Jenny calls out to Tara, panicked. She demands to know why he locked the door and shouts that they need to get Tara inside. Tara limps toward them, bleeding, while the boy crawls behind her, still screeching. Tara cries out for help as she struggles to stay on her feet. The man looks grim and thinks that Tara is done for. He then reacts in shock, realizing she was just bitten. Tara limps forward, blood dripping from her foot, while calling out to them. The car door shuts, and Tara begs them to wait and take her with them. She reaches out in panic, saying no and pleading not to be left there. Her voice breaks as she asks them not to abandon her. Later, Jenny cries while recounting what happened, sobbing as she admits that they left Tara behind. She blames herself, wishing she had stopped their director or gotten out of the car. They stand together as Jenny continues crying. Shamshik gently tells her to take it easy and drink something first, saying she barely ate yesterday. Jenny wonders if she even deserves that, thinking that Tara and their director are dead while she is still alive. Shamshik asks if that is really all she has to say. When she looks up in confusion, he says that they have all lost someone too. He mentions Mr. Cho, their project coordinator, then another close colleague from work. He adds quietly that his mother is probably gone as well. Before he can finish, Sheriff urgently tells him to stop, warning him not to say something he will regret. Shamshik challenges Sheriff by asking about his mother. He says that as far back as he can remember, his own mother was always a selfless woman, and adds that the others already know this. He continues that there is no place for such selfless people in this new world. A strong wind blows across the open field as the group stands together. He then asks what else there is, and says that he is going to live it up today, with good food, good jokes, and big smiles, because that is how he finds the strength to face tomorrow. Jenny listens as he explains that with each day he lives, it is like his mother lives a little longer through his memories. Shamshik adds that he hopes his friends will remember him and live on for a long time even after he is gone, and says this is how he plans to exist a little while longer. He snaps open a drink and says that what he is trying to say is that she has to carry on for everyone. Jenny remembers praise and encouragement toward her briefly, as Shamshik tells her that this is her responsibility as the survivor. Jenny breaks down, crying and sniffing as she clutches the drink, then quietly thanks him. Shamshik gently places a hand on her head to comfort her, whereas the scene shifts to the outside of the medical center, and inside, a bowl of soup sits on a tray as a man drinks it. The man named Minghu looks his reflection in the glass. He comments that he now looks like a mess. Zombies' dead bodies are scattered on the ground as he comments that he won't have to worry about breaking anyone's hand from now on. Mingho stands with a cigarette in his mouth and remarks that zombies are real, adding that he thought those things existed only in films. He grips a black bag and calls the situation a complete mess as he walks through a blood-stained hallway scattered with bodies. His steps echo heavily while he heads for the stairs and climbs up. Metallic noises ring out nearby as zombies screeches and clanks. Mingho glances toward the sound, sweat on his face, and mutters that they are ugly bastards. A low growl comes from beyond the metal shutters. He raises his hand slightly and says he will cut them up any way they like, telling them to stick around until his arm is good again. He steps into the elevator. The door bursts open. Both doctors recoil in shock. One cries out to Jesus, and the other stammers, asking if it is a zombie. Mingho walks forward calmly and tells them to keep their voices down unless they want to attract all of them there. They quickly apologize, admitting that he scared them. Mingho drops the black bag onto a bed with a clatter, says he will bring them all the food they want, and asks them to do something about his shoulder. Mingho pulls his shirt aside, exposing his injured shoulder, and tells the two that if they want to make it out of this alive, they will need him to fight. The scene shifts to the outside of the building where Yubin's group is. Inside, Rookie blinks nervously and hesitates before asking if she is going to be staying with them. He clarifies by asking if it means Jenny from Pink Punch, and whether she will be staying there forever. Jenny laughs and bows slightly, saying she will follow the rules and help out. Rookie blushes and calls her very cute. He quickly straightens himself and says he will do the same, and that it is great to meet her. They shake hands firmly, but Rookie realizes that the hand is off Sheriff's. Rookie says that it hurts. Rain begins to fall, droplets landing on Yubin's head. He looks up and wonders if it is rain. Heavy rain pours over the building and trees. From inside, he looks out at the city as the rain intensifies. He explains that visibility narrows in the rain and that moving around becomes difficult, thinking that the supplies from the latest run should last 3 to 4 days at best, and hopes the rain will stop by then. Sheriff calls out to Jenny and asks her to come up for a moment. From below, she answers that she is coming and heads toward him. Sheriff shows Jenny a room and tells her that this is where she will be staying. He explains that out of all the second-floor spaces, this one is the best. It is also the roomiest, since it was planned as the director's office for the welfare center. Jenny looks around as rain falls outside and says it is great. Sheriff adds that with windows on every wall, she will get plenty of sunlight and good ventilation, though he admits there is something to be said about the door. Jenny smiles brightly and says she loves it. Sheriff mentions that she can even hear the birds chirping. Jenny runs to the window and admires the view, adding that it is not to mention a killer view of the mountains. She pauses and looks back at him, confused. She then asks if he picked the flowers himself. Sheriff scratches his head and admits that they are wildflowers, saying he thought they would brighten up the room. He awkwardly asks if it is a bit too old-fashioned, and tells her she can throw them out if she does not like them. Jenny quickly says not at all, and that they are beautiful. She thanks him warmly while holding the flowers. The scene shifts to a tall building surrounded by fire and smoke as a sharp screech echoes. Inside, blood-covered zombies press against a metal shutter, scraping and clawing at it. In another room, a man in a suit with a rifle over his shoulder stands near a door as scratching sounds grow louder. The door suddenly slams. Several men in suits sit around a table while loud slamming noises continue in the background. Candles flicker on the floor as a heavy sound echoes through the room. A man in a robe stands in the dim light while a sharp screech rings out. He looks ahead calmly and admits he still cannot get used to the horrifying sight. He adds that if it were not for Minghu, things would be different. He recalls hearing Minghu covered in blood saying there is no time to explain. He tells his boss to trust him and not come outside. The boss reflects that he is a good kid. One of the men in suits asks if they should bring in his supper. The boss tells him no and says it can wait because he was just about to get to the fun part. The man answers yes, sir. The boss pulls on a blue glove and wonders what it will be for tonight. He reaches toward a table laid out with tools, selecting a knife. Barefoot, he steps forward as a chained, blood-covered zombie captured in chains. The boss approaches him slowly while the chains clink. He grins and says that the more he observes him, the more fascinating he becomes, and demands to know how he is able to react to his presence without ears or eyes. The boss considers it and suggests that perhaps it is by smell. As the chained zombie growls and lunges forward, the chains snap tight. With a sharp motion, the boss thrusts the knife into the zombie's open mouth. The boss drives the knife down again, blood splashing as his shadow stretches across the wall. A heavy thud follows. He tells the chained zombie that there will be no more sniffing around for him, then orders him to try to find him again. Rain slams against a window as it rattles loudly. Back at Yubin's place, they all continue sleeping under blankets, snoring despite the noise. The rattling grows louder. Yubin jolts awake, startled. He wonders what the hell the noise is. Sheriff stands behind him, looking bleary, while Yubin raises a finger to signal silence. Others stir, still drowsy, as the rattling continues. Jenny sits up, alarmed. Yubin moves carefully toward the doorway and peeks out, listening as the rattling persists. Outside on the balcony, they stare toward the dark mountains. Yubin says it does not seem that far away and wonders if it could be a biter. Another suggests it might just be the wind. Yubin mutters that it had to be on a rainy night like this. Jenny switches on a flashlight and shines it into the darkness. Yubin notes that the light is not strong enough to reach that far as the rain keeps pouring. The noise carries through the night. Shamshik squints into the darkness and says it is too dark even for his eyes. Rookie points out that it is caught in the trap and asks why they cannot just leave it alone, questioning why they should put themselves at risk for nothing. A sharp screech echoes from below, making them flinch. Sheriff warns that the noise could draw other biters to the area. He adds that it would be better to take the smaller risk and get rid of the screamer while the numbers are manageable. Yubin thinks that, judging by the pack behavior they saw downtown, Sheriff's words make sense. He then notes that the real issue is the complete lack of visibility. From above, their flashlights cut through the rain, but the beam barely reaches the ground. Shamshik suddenly spots something and signals that it is there. Below, a zombie thrashes in the trap, struggling and screaming. Later, Yubin states that they found the biter and tells them to divide the jobs. He says that 3 of them will head down and take it out with the flashlights. He instructs them to point the light at the zombie while Jenny illuminates their path. If anyone spots hidden zombies, they should blow the whistle as a signal. Jenny nods firmly. Yubin grabs the ladder and climbs down. The others follow, moving through the rain. He estimates that it is about 30 meters from their position to the zombie as they advance carefully. Yubin warns that they only saw one, but there could be more lurking in the dark, and reminds them not to let their guard down. He tightens his grip on the shovel and urges himself to focus. A sharp screech pierces the air as a zombie charges at him from the shadows. Yubin screams in shock. Shamshik shouts his name and dashes toward him. Sheriff yells for him to duck and swings his weapon down with force. The strike lands heavily, crushing into the zombie as blood splatters across the wet ground. Sheriff immediately tells Shamshik to sweep. Shamshik answers that he is on it and swings his flashlight around to scan the surroundings. Their hearts pound as they check for movement. After a brief pause, Seraph asks if there are no more. Shamshik responds that it looks like it. Yubin mutters in pain. Sheriff and Shamshik both turn at the sound. Sheriff leans toward Yubin and asks what happened. Yubin groans and explains that he slipped and got caught in the wire. Shamshik kneels beside him and asks how bad it is. Yubin replies that it stings badly, but trails off. He struggles to stand, hobbling slightly as he tests his leg. He then says he thinks he can move around just fine. Sheriff tells him to stay put and not do anything, adding that they need to stop the bleeding first. He pulls off his plaid shirt and wraps it tightly around Yubin's leg. Yubin winces and says it might be too tight. Sheriff answers that it has to be in order to stop the bleeding. He then tells Shamshik to stay with Yubin. He will deal with the biter. A loud crash echoes from a distance. Later, Jenny calls out, asking if Yubin was injured. She looks alarmed and wonders how. Yubin says it is barely a scratch. Sheriff mutters that it is barely a scratch, though it looked badly torn at a glance. He tells Yubin to pull down his pants. He grabs Yubin's waistband and starts to lower it. Yubin asks what he is doing. Sheriff stares at him and replies that he cannot see how bad the wound is with the pants in the way. Yubin clutches his leg and argues that they do not even have medicine, so he questions why Sheriff needs to look at the wound. Sheriff answers that if it is really bad, they at least have to bind it properly. Yubin hesitates, face flushed, then gives in and says he will do it. Jenny glances back at them. She quickly turns her back. Sheriff and Shamshik lean closer to examine the injury. The wound on Yubin's leg is exposed, smeared with blood and torn skin. Sheriff remarks that it does not look good, and that it is not just a minor scrape. Shamshik mutters that they should have grabbed a first aid kit, adding that they could have at least disinfected it. Sheriff responds that no one expected this to happen. Yubin insists he is fine and says wounds like that close up in a few days. Sheriff looks at him and asks if he is trying to impress Jenny. Sheriff tightens the cloth around the wound. Yubin cries out in pain. After checking it, Sheriff says that is the best they can manage for now and suggests they focus on getting through the night first. Shamshik tells Yubin that they will get him medicine as soon as the sun rises, and that he will have to endure the pain until then. Yubin smiles awkwardly and thanks them. Outside, the night sky hangs over the building. Later, Jenny sits against the wall, glancing aside as the wind brushes past her. Yubin lies under a blanket and groans. Close to him, he grimaces and lets out a strained breath while sweat runs down his face. Jenny sits beside him on the floor and looks down at him. She thinks that he seems to be taking the worst of it, and that he has been tossing and turning all night. She gently starts singing a song recalling her previous memories. She tells him softly to hush and not say a word. As she continues stroking his head, she hums and sings that Mama is going to buy him a mockingbird. If the mockingbird does not sing, Mama will buy a diamond ring. If the diamond ring turns to brass, Mama will buy a looking glass. If the looking glass gets broken, Mama will buy a rocking horse. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Yubin's eyes are half open and unfocused. She tells him to hang on and repeats his name, urging him to stay with her. He breathes weakly, the sound shallow and unsteady. Meanwhile, at Korea Atomic Energy Research Institute, inside one of the tents, Jinu with a rifle slung over his shoulder leans over and calls out for Corporal Kim. He says that it is time for his shift. Jinu stands guard with Corporal Kim, thinking that this side feels far too exposed compared to the main gate. Corporal Kim yawns and replies that it is like the army cannot stand taking it easy. They look out over the fence while he thinks the searchlight should be pointed elsewhere, and that they can only see about 50 meters ahead. The dugouts are too shallow and would do nothing against a horde of zombies. The machine gun nest on the rear watchtower might help, but he remains uneasy. Jinu says that if they were at the main entrance, he would not be so worried since most of their firepower is concentrated there. Corporal Kim picks at his face and tells Jinu to relax once in a while. He says they have not heard a single gunshot all day. Jinu insists they are critically exposed on the flanks and warns that if biters attack as things stand, they will be vulnerable. Corporal Kim tells him not to worry. He says he checked the situation board before coming, and that it reported around 3,000 killed so far. He then asks Jinu how many people he thinks are within a 10-kilometer radius. When Jinu is asked why he suddenly cares about population, he explains that zombies need something to set them in motion. They do not rise from graves. Dead or alive, biters need people to build momentum. Corporal Kim pauses, then acknowledges the point. He adds that he checked the area while flying in and says they are in the middle of nowhere. There should not be more than 3,000 citizens living in this small backwoods area. Jinu lowers his gaze and says he understands now. He concludes that they must have massacred most of the citizens around the power plant. Still, Corporal Kim admits they are in a low-threat area but complains that being issued only 8 magazines is a joke. He says that if he had known it would be like this, he would have dug up an ammo box from the drill yard. Jinu asks what he means. Corporal Kim asks if he is curious. Jinu answers that he wants to know. Corporal Kim says that since they have walked through fire together, he will tell him. He says it happened back when he was as green as Jinu. He explains that there was a sergeant close to discharge, and that he was with him on his last guard duty. He asks if Jinu knows what the sergeant was doing as the main gunner. Jinu replies that he does, and adds that the corporal must have dozed off like someone he knows. Corporal Kim snaps back, asking if Jinu is trying to say something about him. He continues that while they were on duty, the sergeant suddenly took out a pickaxe from the back. Then he began digging like a madman around the podium. Corporal Kim thought the sergeant was celebrating early with contraband, and kept quiet while watching. Jinu stammers that the ammo box must have been buried there. Corporal Kim says the sergeant dug up 2 ammo cans about that size, and watched the infected for a while before burying them again where he found them. Jinu reacts in shock, saying that must have been nearly 10,000 rounds. Corporal Kim replies that the important thing is, they had a large supply of live ammunition. Jinu asks where the sergeant could have found the ammo boxes. He adds that the army reacts strongly even if a single casing goes missing, so it is hard to believe. Corporal Kim says he has no idea. He tells Jinu not to tell anyone, saying he only shared it because he trusts him. Jinu answers that he understands. Corporal Kim mutters that he has just wasted another good story. Jinu begins to question whether the story was made up. Suddenly, Jinu stiffens. He senses that the air has subtly changed. He notices a strong smell of blood. Corporal Kim asks what he is looking at and whether something is out there. He shouts that he hates jump scares. A faint rushing sound carries across the field. Jinu thinks he hears something running. He notes that although the sound is faint because of the distance, the fact that it can still be heard from here means something. Corporal Kim tells him to speak clearly and asks what is wrong. Jinu addresses him as Corporal and chambers his rifle. He then says that they are coming. Corporal Kim asks who is coming, saying he cannot see anything. A low rumble rolls across the field under the moonlight. The ground begins to shake as something charges through the trees. A mass of zombies bursts out from the forest, screaming as they sprint across the open land toward the plant. Corporal Kim curses and opens fire. Muzzle flashes flare as he squeezes the trigger. Jinu shoulders his rifle and follows suit, chambering rounds and firing in controlled bursts. From above, the floodlights reveal a spreading wave of bodies rushing forward in a stampede. Jinu thinks that although the power plant is large, there are not many people inside for the zombies to prey on. He questions why they are attacking this place. A shout rings out that zombies are here, followed by a report that it is a magnitude 5 outbreak. The horde screeches beneath the moon. Soldiers yell to hold formation and warn that if the zombies reach melee range, they are finished. Orders are given to shoot them down before they get close. Jinu shouts that he has already burned through 3 magazines, and asks how many there are this time. Through the scope, he sees the incoming mass. He notes that zombies do not produce enough heat for thermal scopes, so the clarity of the images suggests something else. Their approximate distance is calculated to be within 600 meters. The alarm blares as gunfire echoes through the night. A soldier screams while gripping his rifle. Gunfire continues as explosions flare in the distance. Small bursts ignite across the field, but Jinu shouts that the targeting is completely off and they will not be able to stop the horde like this. The floodlight swings with a heavy thud, casting a wide beam over the charging mass. It reveals an enormous wave of zombies pouring forward. Jinu realizes that if they remain in position any longer, they will die. He states that they must retreat into the power plant at the right moment. Sweat runs down his face as he calculates aloud. If the biters can run 100 meters uphill in 12 seconds, then the first wave will reach them in 72 seconds. Carrying gear and ammunition, the soldiers would take 16 seconds to cover the same distance. It might take even longer, so they need to retreat in exactly 1 minute. Gunfire drops several zombies. He counts in his head. 45 seconds. 30. 20. He announces that they need to move now. Behind him, Corporal Kim continues firing in bursts. Jinu calls out to Corporal Kim, saying they should fall back, but Kim shouts for the zombies to die as he keeps shooting. Breathing hard, Jinu lowers his head briefly. Suddenly, he grabs Corporal Kim by the back of his uniform and yanks him away from the line. Jinu insists they will not make it if they stay and urges him to fall back immediately. Kim turns in shock and angrily orders Jinu to get his hand off him. A zombie suddenly leaps forward with a screech and slams into one of the soldiers. The man cries out for help as the zombies knocks him down. Jinu fires rapidly, shouting while spraying bullets. Several zombies collapse as rounds tear through them. Jinu tries to call out to Corporal Kim but stops mid-word. He turns his head in confusion. Corporal Kim yells at him, asking what he is waiting for and telling him to move. Jinu dashes toward the power plant while gunfire continues behind him. He runs across the ground while zombies surge after them from the darkness. Jinu shouts not to look back. Both soldiers sprint side by side, breathing hard. Someone suddenly shouts for them to get down. Corporal Kim freezes for a moment as Jinu grabs his helmet. He shoved Corporal Kim downward just as a burst of gunfire erupts. Bullets rip through the charging zombies, dropping several at once as blood sprays across the ground. The two soldiers remain crouched as the shots continue, bodies collapsing in front of them. The firing finally slows. Ahead of them, a line of soldiers stands near the entrance of the facility, rifles raised. Corporal Kim stares in disbelief and asks what that was. Jinu says they made it for now, Corporal. He glances back toward the dark field and notes that so many were chasing them. He adds that the line on that side must have been completely overrun. Gunfire tears through a charging zombie and its head bursts apart with a crunch as the body collapses. The remaining zombies fall one after another under the soldiers' fire near the entrance. Corporal Kim looks over the blood-covered ground and asks if they got them all. Jinyu replies that he thinks so. He breathes heavily, sweat running down his face, but then says that cannot be right. More zombies appear from the darkness, rushing forward with open mouths and blood-covered bodies. Jinyu stares at them in disbelief and realizes there is no way this is happening. That's it for now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.